This is episode 21 of the Triple Cross Cinema podcast. I'm Wooper, and here's Mario.
Hey everyone, I'm Mario.
We are breaking from our traditional format for our 21st episode because we're not talking about three films from a particular country, genre, director, theme. Instead, we're
Mhm.
talking about, well, I guess the point that they share is the year. We're talking about
Yep.
movies from the year 2022, our top 10 lists, each of us. I don't know what else
Yep.
there is to say. I'll offer, I suppose, I'll confess that I've only seen 45 films from this year.
Hmm.
And I know that most people who would be enthusiastic enough about film to make a top 10 list from a year have probably seen, triple that number. But I'll do it anyway. You may want to heed more closely to Mario's picks than mine, as he's more of a cinephile and has probably seen more films from this year than I have. But I'm throwing my hat into the ring anyway. How are you feeling, Mario?
Yeah, well, I didn't count how many films that I watched for last year, but certainly I would say like around Whooper's number as well. And I would say that 10 out of like 45, 50 would be like already a good sample.
I
So
don't know. I mean, am tempted to agree for multiple reasons, not least of which is that it kind of validates my own opinions, I guess. But most film fans will have seen way far more than, they'll be going to the movies twice a week, every week. And over the course of 52 weeks, that's just over 100 films. And then, of course, they'll be pirating shit left and right as well
yep,
and saying
yep.
that they're not, but they are. So they'll see, 100 more films that way, probably.
And I mean like it's not the quantity, it's more like the quality as well. Like if you pick some stuff that we really enjoy, we don't feel like it's a waste of time. I
Yeah,
think we make
there,
the most out of it.
right. There is that. And there's also the case that since we're doing this so deep into 2023,
Hmm.
all the
Yep.
film festivals for, excuse me, all the film festivals for 2022 came and went, long
Yep.
ago. And all the foreign films that would have taken a long time to make their way, for an international like home release,
Hmm.
so that they could be downloaded on the internet or purchased, whatever, streamed. We had time. We sat
Yep.
around and waited for that.
That's right.
Some people don't have that ability, I guess, because they need to get. I mean, they got to publish their list as soon as possible, like January. Make their YouTube video or whatever it is they do.
Yeah.
We
Well.
waited. So yeah, quality over quantity.
Yeah. Well, it's not even January that they put up the ranking. They do it like in mid December usually.
Hmm.
That's how crazy quick they do with the year end ranking.
Right. Well, they do it that way so that because that's the time that people are going to be making those Google searches,
Yeah.
and they want their articles to be seen. I
Yep.
used to be a big like live action TV fan, mostly American
Hmm.
television, and I would. This was back when I was in college, so I was a lot younger than I am now, and I would constantly look up lists like top 10, top 20 TV series of such and such a year, top 100 series of all time, whatever. Because when you're
Yep.
young, you don't know everything that you really like yet, and you kind of have to rely on those lists. Things that have been written by people who are older and have seen way more stuff than you have.
And you
And
you
yeah,
reckon now?
December is when those lists would come out. So yeah, I
Yep.
remember that.
And you reckon now that we are older and wiser, we make the list so that the youngers can like have a reference, have a look at reference.
I mean, that's not why I'm doing it. I'm doing it because I don't know. It's a new tradition, I guess. I've done it many more times for anime series.
Yep.
That's my area of expertise. For films, this is my first time. I'm a top 10 films of 20XX
Yep.
virgin. This is my first go.
Sound good to me. How do you feel about all the 45 films that you watch?
I would say 10 of them were clearly better than the others, or I enjoyed 10 of them
Mhm.
clearly more than the other 35.
Yep.
So I don't even have any honorable mentions, really.
All right.
you know, they're it was a good experience to watch them all. I mean, there were only a few that I really thought were just boring and a waste of time.
Mhm.
Most of them I thought were a decent use of 2 hours. Hopefully, just two and not more. But there
Yep.
were some 2.5 hour and 3 hour films this year that were great. So
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
right. That's right. There's a few on my list as well. So I do have two honorable mentions,
should we
and
get into
I
them?
yeah let's go with that. And the two of them are from genre. They are all horrors. So one of them is Barbarian.
Hmm.
The other one is Crime of the Future.
I'm surprised that Crimes of the Future was not one of your 10 favorites.
Yeah, well, I really enjoy Crime of the Future when I first watched, and I think it still is a quintessential Cronenberg. I just feel it's a bit lacking on the ending, and it have like really ambitious and ambiguous, and it doesn't really like answer a lot of questions it try to raise to the point that I feel lacking.
The final shot of Crimes of the Future, it was that black and white shot of the
Mhm.
main character. He was, I suppose, being captured, perhaps by his lover, who is also his surgeon, and they also record their surgeries,
Hmm.
right? Like they kind of make a spectacle out of it. So I'm assuming that that camera shot of him kind of looking to the left of the lens, I guess, is we're supposed to interpret that as him being recorded. And I can't remember exactly what's happening there. Like he getting an organ removed from his body, like the really important one around which the plot kind of revolves, or
Yeah, I say so. My memory of it a bit hazy, but yeah, I would say so.
the reason I was kind of trying to describe it is because I really liked that shot. The way that it
Hmm.
kind of diverged from the style of the rest of the film was very interesting to me.
Yep.
Because it was a way for Cronenberg to indicate that he had reached some sort of state of mind that he wasn't able to arrive at earlier in
Hmm.
the film, where a lot of his acting is very, even though he's like grunting and clicking his jaw and stuff,
Yep.
Viggo Mortensen is in his performance. He's still it's still a placid performance. Like he doesn't raise his voice a lot. He doesn't even when he's upset. He's still just kind of calm. Perhaps as a result of what's going on with him biologically, but that his performance just morphs completely in that final shot. That was maybe my favorite moment of the whole film, actually.
Right, right. And have you watched Barbarian?
No, yeah.
Because
Tell me a
I
little bit about Barbarian and Crimes of the Future. Yeah.
All right, so Barbarian is a horror film. So she booking a place in Airbnb, and then when she come, it turned out that it's been double booked by a so there's a guy who already stayed there, but because she have no choice, she had to stay the night with him as well,
Is it like
and
an
that's
isolated area or is it in a city?
it's in Detroit,
Is it in
Michigan,
like the
Detroit.
heart of Detroit? So they're not.
No, it is in like the a very I think it's like the rural area of Detroit where
Oh,
like houses over there have been left for years, so like no one
oh.
really staying there.
Is there
So
commentary in the film then about
it
like
is.
American cities kind of being like
I
depopulation issues?
I think it's mostly about Detroit, about
Okay,
like how it was once like a thriving area, and now it just like it's look like a trash area.
right. I've never been to Detroit, but just
Right.
being
I
American
want to
and
ask
some,
you about that as well
yeah.
because I watched some movies about Detroit, and many of them are like that, like houses that um have been once everyone lived there and now they just kind of like move out. So that kind of interesting, and the film itself it just keep building itself up, and it have like multiple narrative to the point that it making the whole film very unpredictable and fresh. So I couldn't really tell, like what coming next, and it's a good thing for horror movies.
When you say multiple
uh
narratives, what exactly do you mean by that?
it
Like it
follow
follows
one.
multiple characters?
Yep, it follow one character point of view, and then it pull back to show the other character's point of view.
Okay. Does it also rewind time when
No.
it does that?
I would spoil you on that. It's
Oh,
it's
I
it,
see.
it's in the film best enjoy if you don't know anything coming to it.
Right. I mean, that's my philosophy for most movies, but it
Yep.
sounds like whatever you're alluding to is kind of a central part of
Interesting.
the film.
Yep. Yeah, that's right. And for me, the what put me, like not putting that on my top 10 is just some plot detail don't hold up well to me. So now when I think about that, I just think that some plot detail it's just not possible. It's just a bit too, like you if you think more about the plot, it just fall apart.
Oh, I see.
And the
That's pretty
ending for
common with
me,
movies.
that's really common with horror in particular.
Oh.
And the ending for me is still rely on the horror trope, which I'm not really keen on that.
Hmm. All right. So you said that you weren't really convinced by Crimes of the Future's ending necessarily. So what parts of the film did you enjoy or admire the most?
Right. I really enjoy the futurist settings. It's very rich, it's very ambiguous, and it open to a whole lot more thing to say. And and the plot, the central plot itself, it depict a society where human, like undergo mutation and transformation in their bodies, where surgery is new sex. I love that word.
Right. That's I think it's Kristen Stewart's character,
Yep.
the really like nervous, twitchy assistant
Yep.
at it's like the Bureau of Organ Registration or something,
Hmm.
because
Hmm.
people are growing new organs and using their bodies as incubators, basically.
Yep.
Yeah. She would go, I guess her character would say something like, "Surgery is the new sex."
Yep.
Well, kind of like bugging out her eyes and like getting a little crick in her neck and having to fix it.
Yep.
Uh, yeah, I was very interested in her character. I
Hmm.
did I liked the film. It felt a little short, although perhaps that's
Yep.
just a byproduct of me watching so many long ass films from this year, and Crimes of the Future just being like a reasonably sized movie and feeling
I
short by
agree.
comparison.
I agree.
Um, yeah, it was neat. I thought it was
Mhm.
a little thin. I think the
Yep.
character relationships could have used a bit more fleshing out, like via the plot,
Hmm.
because we only knew a little bit about how each of the characters related to one another. I mean, even the two main characters, we know about their sexual relationship, which is also, I think, romantic, though perhaps there's a bit of sterility to it. I don't think we learned that much about like how they came to be in that partnership. Perhaps we did, and I'm not recalling it. But it certainly
Well,
wasn't like a central part of the film.
it already established their relationship when we first, like got introduced to them. So yeah, they don't kind of, go into detail about that.
Yeah.
So did Crime of the Future make it to your top 10?
No.
Right.
No, I wouldn't say it was even within striking distance.
Yep.
I just kind of treated it as mentally as like a curiosity. It was the first. I mean, for many of these films and the directors thereof, it's my first time watching their work,
Yep.
because I'm not a big movie guy. So I've never seen a
Mhm.
Cronenberg film before. That was my first.
Yep.
Kind of getting into it in the wrong order there. But
Uh,
based on Crimes of the Future, I would say I would be willing to watch another one.
I
Um,
would say it's Crime of the Future is the it's a good place to start to Cronenberg films because it have like all of his favorite subject matters, and it had like the body horrors thing that make you like a bit swarmly and tickly, and so
Yeah.
yeah, I think it's a good film to start.
All right. Well, I'll. What's the name? Is it Crash? Is that the name of his most famous film, or is?
Yeah, well, that would be Crash. That would be The Flight and
Oh, The Fly is Cronenberg. Okay.
Videodrome
Right.
from 1983.
Right. Yeah, I'll watch one of them eventually.
Yep.
Get a little more into it. I mean, there were some directors whose films I watched from this year where I was like, well, probably never touching that again, but
Mm,
not many.
right. All right. So it's your turn now. What
Oh,
you
for
gonna do
honorable
now?
mentions, I don't have any. Instead, well, there is one film that is not on my top 10 list that I would like to mention, not because I thought it was amazing or anything, but I want to specifically mention Nope
Yep.
for the score.
For
I
the
thought,
score, right?
yeah, for the score, I thought the score was excellent
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
in Nope. I was very impressed by how much tension the film was able to build, even by putting like gentle orchestration on display. Like there were some instrumental combinations. For example, the marimba, the percussion
Yep.
instrument, like with flutes and oboes. Not a lot of strings. I mean, certainly there were some string passages in the film used to build tension, but some of the scenes where Jean Jacket, the UFO, was beginning to reveal forms of itself that were not just shaped like a disc,
Mm-hmm.
the film would bust out some really soft, mostly like flute, oboe, marimba, and other really gentle percussion arrangements, as if to display like the how majestic this alien creature was, not just how horrifying or threatening or ugly it was, but how beautiful it was, and simultaneously make you fear for the characters. It was just very precise musical work, I feel. And
Mm-hmm.
so I wanted to recognize, even though it's not one of my 10 favorite films from this year, I did want to recognize that about that movie because I was very moved by the
Mm-hmm.
score. And I also wanted to say my list is not really like there are some big films
Mm-hmm.
that I haven't seen from this year, and I want to reveal what a few of them are that I intended to watch but I didn't get around to.
Yep.
And those
Go for
are
it.
Avatar: The Way of Water,
Mm-hmm.
EO. I don't know if
Mm-hmm.
that's how you say it, but it's the film that is kind of a modern spin on Alhazard Baltazar. Is that how you
Yep.
say
It
that
is,
film? Yeah.
and it's one of my favorite movie as well.
Yeah.
Of all time, Alcarràs Baltazar.
Right. Yeah. The reason that I didn't end up watching EO was because I figured I would need to watch Baltazar first, and so that would be two films, and I was trying to
Nah,
be like economical with my time,
right.
so I
Yep.
so I didn't watch it. I mean, I'm sure that you can enjoy that film without having seen its inspiration, but I would
Mm-hmm.
want to watch it in the quote unquote correct order. So I didn't see that one. I was interested in watching How to Blow Up a Pipeline. I did not.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't make time for it.
Mm-hmm.
Also, RRR.
Mm-hmm.
I started watching that film, got about 3 minutes in, and turned it off
How come?
because I thought it was like the acting I thought was really hammy, and they were getting into a musical number where the lips were not synced to the the song
All
right
right.
away, and the awkwardness of the girl being taken away from her family. I would just like something came over me like I don't want to watch this. I would rather watch something more naturalistic, more like authentically dramatic and not quite so showy.
All right.
I,
There are
I
two
still
things
I
that I
still
want to tell
intend to
you.
watch that movie, but
Right.
I didn't watch it because I couldn't stomach the first few minutes. I don't know. I just was like, I feel like watching something else right now, and then I never went
All right.
back to it.
Yep. All right. That's two things that I want to tell you right now about RRR. So
Yeah.
one of them, when I hear you say about what you feel about that, the first 3 minutes of that film, first is that I think we need to do the Bollywood movies one day for
Oh
our
God,
postcard.
I might die of embarrassment.
And second, I didn't end up watching RRR either, but I did scroll to a particular scenes where one of the guy had to fight against a tiger,
Yeah, I've
and
heard
it's
about that.
look yeah, and it looked CG exact.
Oh
It
yeah,
doesn't look natural at all, but it's look impressive either way. It
like the
just
framing of it.
nonetheless the framing, it looks like something straight out of a game. It it ju- it is fake, but it's impressive
I'll tell you
nonetheless.
a story. Yesterday, I was
Yep,
at a friend's house. We were playing cards,
yep,
and he brought up RRR completely unprompted. He was like, "It's the best movie of
yep,
the year." So
yep,
you know, I said, "Guess what? I'm talking with a friend of mine about our favorite films of 2022
yep.
tomorrow, and that film's not going to be on my list because I couldn't make it past the first 3 minutes." And he got really upset and was like, "It's the best movie of the year. You're stupid. You're not giving any of these films a chance." I said, "Man, I've just watched like 40 films in the last 3 months, 40 plus. Calm down."
Yep,
And so what we ended up doing was he suggested that we get together and do a double feature. We were going to watch RRR, and then
yep.
we were going to watch my favorite film of the year. So we're going to be doing that in the near future, and I will see the film, but not in
All
time
right,
for this
good.
list.
All right, good luck for I think it's like 3 hours films
Yeah, that was
with a
another
lot of
reason why I
dancing,
clicked off of it.
with a lot of dancing, Bollywood style, and I think you might enjoy it. It's an action movie,
Yeah. Well,
a lot of
I'll give
fun.
it a chance because
Yep,
by giving it a chance, I'll force my buddy to watch my favorite film of the year, which will be
yep,
revealed in an hour and a half from now, something like that,
yep.
or
So
maybe
tell
less.
your buddy to to follow up on this channel as well to see what is your favorite film and the reason why you love it.
Right. Well, he'll get an experience firsthand. Um,
That's right. That's how excited.
yeah. So all that to say, I will end up watching the movie. So anyone else who is upset that I dismissed it so quickly, don't worry.
Yep.
I will correct my mistake.
Yep. And you don't need the experience of Hazard Pantaza in order to watch EO at all
Yeah,
because it
I'm
is
sure that's
supposed to be
true.
standalone. Yep.
Yeah, I would probably prefer to see Balthazar first,
Yep. Yep.
just because I know
Makes
of its
sense.
reputation as one of the greatest films ever made.
Yeah. I think if you hold that thought, it's gonna be against the film. Just like
Well,
just
that's
think
what I
of it
mean. I
as
want
like
to I want to watch the one that's so amazing. Oh, you're not talking about EO. You're talking about Balthazar.
yeah. I'm talking about Pantaza. It's supposed to be a like just a 60s French films. A bit of the on the of school side. Nobody really watched that movies.
Oh, I don't care. I'm good. Whether 10 million people have seen a film or 10,000.
Yep.
If I'm interested, I'm interested.
All right. So 24 minutes into the postcard, and now we're gonna reveal our top 10.
Right. Of course, there'll be timestamps in the description. I said that too late, but you
Yep.
can skip around if you want. But we're gonna go 10 to 1 in order, starting with
All right.
me or Mario. Who do you want to start?
Up to you. I think I'm gonna leave it to you this time. So you can
Okay.
start with your number
Well,
10.
in the past, we have always begun with Mario. When I say in the past, I'm referring to our channel where we discuss seasonal anime.
Mhm.
In the past, we've always started with Mario, and so he'll say what his number 10 is, and we'll alternate, and that will end with me giving my number one pick. So why don't we do it in reverse order this
Yep.
time? I'll start with my top 10, so Mario will have the final word on the year. Is that all
Hmm.
right?
interesting. Yep. All right. That's a good.
Is that okay? Okay. I'll start with my number 10 then. And that film is Leila's Brothers,
Yep.
directed by Saeed Roustai. I'm sorry that I'm going to be saying so many names in so many different languages incorrectly. But that's, yeah, Leila's Brothers, my
Hmm.
number 10 pick. So I'll start with the reason, I suppose, why it is farther down on the list, even though I really enjoyed the experience of watching this movie.
Hmm.
I thought the ending left something to be desired. The
All
final
right.
scene where Ali Reza, the primary brother of the four siblings who make up Layla's
Hmm.
brothers,
Hmm.
his discovery of his there's going to be spoilers, by the way. I don't really do non-spoiler. I like to be specific if I can, if my memory permits. So I'm spoilers for Layla's brothers.
Yep.
He finds his father dead in their living room as his niece is celebrating. His young niece is celebrating like her, I don't know, 8th birthday or something like that.
Hmm.
And it's the visual of the shot is very interesting because confetti is falling from the sky and it's a joyful moment for the majority of the participants in the scene. But he, of course, is taken aback by his father's death, and the context within the film is that his father has kept secrets from the family, and arguably not treated his children with a lot of care or respect throughout the course of their adult lives.
Hmm.
And I wasn't really sure like how to process it, or that it was the best way to end the film. Um, I don't know. I mean,
All
I
right.
you've seen this film, right? So what do you like?
Yep.
What are your thoughts on that final scene? I'd be interested to know.
Spoiler alert. I really enjoy the ending of that film. I think it is ended the perfect way. It just make the end of the patriarch family. Like he's always like the head of the family, and he make all the wrong decision. Even like Leila brothers, like all the males making the wrong decision at the wrong time. So it's just the passing of like the head of the family into the uncertain future, where like they might the next in life maybe it's one of the late like brothers, and like it also might be they might just go down to the rabbit hole as his father did, but it's still the end of an era, so to speak.
Well, it's certainly the end of an era. But man, I don't know. I was just unsatisfied by the ending, and I'm not
Mm.
really sure how to phrase it. Like certainly I can't
It,
say definitively that the film is inadequate.
yeah.
The
How?
director executed
All
his
right.
vision the way he wanted to.
Yep.
Um,
Think about it this way though. How would you like to end this film if like everything built up to that?
it's an interesting question. I think that Ali Reza's return to his workplace, the factory where the
Hmm.
riot occurs, um,
Hmm.
in the that breaks out at the protest, because he's been working at this factory and not being paid or supplied health care for a long time. Like he's owed a lot of back wages. At the start of the film, we learn this about him. So eventually, the film circles back around to it. He returns to the factory, despite being, in the words of his coworkers, one of the bastards who flees the scene of the riot and just leaves all the other workers there to be the ones who actually fight for what they deserve, because he runs away. When he
Hmm.
returns, he doesn't take any shit. He attends the meeting where his employer is like, "Okay, you get 3 months pay,"
Hmm.
and he's not satisfied with that, and he throws, I think, a fire extinguisher through a glass door. So his like righteous fury in that scene indicates how he's changed as a result
Hmm.
of everything he's gone through together with his family. And I think I would have liked more emphasis on Ali Reza and less
Hmm.
on the father's passing and the fact that an era has ended. Because what's important is what's changed about him and about his siblings who remain, not who has to die in order for that change to happen. I feel like the father dying, even though it's Ali Reza who discovers him and who's like thrown into flux and whose stunned expression is juxtaposed against the confetti falling. He is the center of that scene, but really the father dying and what hold the father had over his family, his passing makes it just as much about the father. And I wanted it to be more about Ali Reza, I think.
Yeah, all right. I think I understand what you mean, but I still think it's a strong ending to me. It is still like having that hopelessness that you feel throughout the entirety of this film.
I thought this film was pretty funny.
It's funny at times, that's not right, but there's a sense that like whatever they end up doing will will do them any good.
Yeah.
They still in poverty. They still uh they still cannot
Unemployed. They're still unemployed.
yeah, that's right, just because like the corrupted system that like inside the family themselves, and it cannot be changed anytime soon. So I think that's the point,
Hmm.
and I think we're gonna talk about that more later on, because I have that on my top 10 list.
Right.
The one thing I want to mention though is that just 10 days before we doing this postcard, um the directors have been sentenced to prison because of making the film in
Mm.
Iran, just to say how, I don't know, man, just how extreme it is to be making a film like this in Iran, and you got sentenced to prison because of that.
Yeah, that's kind of crazy
Yep,
because this film is, I mean, you got to figure if that's what's happened to the director of Layla's Brothers, then what happened to the director of Holy Spider?
that's right. Well, have you watched Holy
I
Spiders?
saw it just a few days ago. Yeah. I mean, there's a
Right.
simulated blowjob scene in that movie.
Yep.
You see
The
like a
trick.
prosthetic penis
Yep.
and a woman sucking on it. So, like, if this guy got tossed in jail, did the other guy get, did he get the rope? Did he get.
Well, the trick was that he made that film not in Iran, and after making that film, he never go back to Iran.
Oh, I see.
He based
Hmm.
in Sweden, by the way, and the staff who making that film never go back to Iran.
Yeah, I bet.
So yeah. Oh man. So yeah, it's just a sad status of like of filmmaker in Iran right now, is because they just don't have that free will to make the movies that they want to make.
Yeah. But I mean, they're good movies. A lot of good movies coming out of that country, and even just
Yeah.
that part of the world.
Yep.
So
Yep.
I hope that everybody involved in that industry keeps at it.
Yeah. All right. So it's me to talk about my number 10, and it's the a animated movie
Oh, is it
by
Guillermo del Toro?
nope, by a way of rotoscope. So it's a, have you guessed?
Is it that one about space?
Yeah, that's right. The Apollo 10 and a half, a space age childhood.
You got it at the wrong
So
spot on your list.
what do you mean by that?
It's right in the title, 10 and a half.
Yeah, Apollo 10 and a half.
Right.
So it's directed by Richard Linklater,
Yeah,
and
the
I'm
boyhood
always
guy.
a, yeah, I'm always a fan of his films, his writing. He's the one who can create a setting that are full of nostalgia, with many little detail and many very specific points of reference. So this one in particular is set in the 1969, about the first moon landing, and it's set in right of the heart of Houston, where NASA located. So that's the people they grew up there, and it's tell the story as a kid, from a kid point of view. They it had like a freestyle slide of life about the life of the kids during that area, uh, about uh, about the long gone era in which people are obsessed with going to the moon. So there's a sense of discovery is just going through the air everywhere you look in that movies. It also has the fantastical plot where the main protagonist named Stan is chosen to pilot because the scientist accidentally built a lunar model too small for an adult.
Hmm. So you
So
said these are fantasy
it's a
sequences,
fantasy.
or the whole
It just
film
happened.
is, or there are some scenes where you go inside the kid's head where he's dreaming about this.
Yeah, it's just that segments where the kid imagine himself to be a a, uh, a astronaut.
Okay.
Just because of that, and there's like it's happened like as the first 10 minutes, and then it just spend the next an hour just to just have that freestyle self life about like what the life in the 90s in the 1969 in Texas is, and it's had like all the references of like what their favorite programs, what their activity, what games they play, so everything.
So there's a lot of
So
detail about that time period in the film.
yeah, a lot of details. Like they would go out to see the movies in the driveway.
The
How
drive-in
does say?
theaters.
Yeah, yeah, that's why the drive-in
Yep.
theaters. We don't have that in here in Australia.
Well, we don't have it in
Uh,
America either anymore. At least not
anymore.
not on the scale that they used to exist. Drive-in
Yeah,
movies
yeah,
used to be like all the rage. There still are places where you can go to see a drive-in movie, like park in your car, watch it through
yeah,
the screen, or even if you have like a truck, you can kind of back into your parking space and get into the bed of the truck, put some blankets down, and watch it
yeah,
that way.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So this film tell a lot of this activity that doesn't happen anymore. That was one popular doesn't happen anymore,
Hmm.
and it make you feel nostalgic for something that like that you haven't even experienced. So I just love that. I think the whole side of life coming up 18 is what I really enjoy the most out of this film. Uh, it it's the fantastical plot. It's a bit like whimsical, but it doesn't really add much to the rest of the stories.
So you would say it's more about like capturing a time period and a mood,
That's
and
right.
like a sense of the kid's
And
point of view.
yeah, and the sense of the era where everything is possible. Like we can reach the moon, we can do anything, and
Mm.
there will be no doubt that in by 2001 we can visit Jupiter's or other space. Like that sense of wonder.
We'll have flying cars in the future.
Yeah, that's right. Well,
Yeah. My dad is old enough that he remembers reading magazines when he was a kid, like Popular Mechanics.
hmm,
That was a popular science magazine
yep,
in his childhood, and they like people were promising we're going to be able to control the weather, we're going to have flying cars, we're going to cure
yeah.
all diseases, stuff like that.
It still might happen in the future, but not in our lifetime, though.
I don't. I think there are some things that we will never ever be able to do. I think control the weather is one of them. I
Yeah.
think that
Well,
that is just not up to us.
yeah. Well, control the weather is one thing, but but if you can have like an area where you can make it rain, like where you can control it, I think it's possible. It's not like the entire world, but like one specific area.
Well, if you think about it, if you gain the ability to control the weather in one specific area, and you have that technology, then you just have to build, like 500 million versions, 500 million,
Hmm.
replicas of whatever technology that is, and then
Yep.
theoretically you'd be able to control the weather on Earth. But
Yep.
the reason I don't think we'll ever be able to do it is because the like weather patterns move around around the globe. Like they're all influenced by each other. In fact, it's all really just one gigantic pattern.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
I just don't see that ever happening. I think the ozone
Mhm.
layer will burn up and
Mhm.
everyone on Earth will die before we figure that out.
All right. What a sad ending.
Well, hopefully we'll be on another planet by then,
Yep.
or underground, or we'll live underground. I don't know.
Yep.
Perhaps we'll be making movies about that a couple hundred years in the future.
Yep. So this film is like in the era where everything is possible. We're gonna make a movie where like we have to duck underground in order to survive.
It might
How
not be that far away. I don't know.
how regress.
All right.
All right.
Shall
What
I
is your number
do
nine?
number 9?
Yep. Please.
Okay, I'm gonna have to speed up a little, so
Yep.
I'll try to go fast. We'll see if I manage it. My ninth favorite film of 2022 is Decision to Leave
Mhm.
by, I believe, Park Chan-wook. Is that right?
Yep. Hmm.
Um, this is a film. This is another film that I am not super crazy about the ending. Of course, the
Hmm.
ending is fine, because it's kind of poetic that after the two main characters, Hae-jun and Seo-rae, they have that conversation towards the beginning of the film where she, being from China, quotes a Confucian proverb about wise people loving the water and benevolent people loving the mountain. And throughout the film, their relationships to either the sea or the mountains, particularly in her case, where she climbs a mountain in order to murder her husband, her first husband, and she also inherits a mountain from her Korean grandfather, which is taken from her. That as the film goes on, their like connections are made between these two characters and also the sea and the mountains. And at the end, she accepts her death by burying herself on a beach as the tide comes in,
Hmm.
thus kind of cementing that she is and accepting about herself the fact that she is not benevolent as someone who loves the mountains is. Rather she is wise, which I suppose it means that she like understands herself and the what she wants and what she loves, and also what she can't have. And that's why I think her death being so closely associated with the sea makes sense. It does close the film nicely, but I just the experience of watching Decision to Leave and how like well directed and like laser focused it is, to me is much more enjoyable than the experience of the film ending and sitting with it. Because
Hmm.
what I mostly like about this film is for example, the scenes where Hae-jun, who is the central male character, he'll be like spying on Seo-rae at her apartment or in the apartment of an elderly woman who she's taking care of as part of her like nursing job.
Hmm.
First, you'll see a shot of him looking through the glass into through a window into whatever apartment she's in. He'll have his binoculars and stuff. You'll get a couple shots of her working in there and him, doing his stakeout thing, and then it'll cut to him actually being in the room and being invisible because he's not truly there, not physically, but he
Hmm.
feels such a connection to this woman that it's as though he is in the room. And then
Yep.
so those are the shots that we start to get, and he'll like smell her
Hmm.
and make notes about her behavior, not just from the car but also from the same the place where she is. He'll be right there. There's a sense of intimacy to those scenes. There's a sense of
Hmm.
voyeurism. There's even a sense of
Hmm.
perversion, but also a
Hmm.
sense of longing. It's just shots. The way those scenes are constructed and the way the whole film is constructed is very intricate and really enjoyable to watch and just to think about. Like get into the mindset of the the director.
Hmm.
And I kind of hate it when it's over because the ending's my least favorite part of it.
Hmm.
But I really I love all the parallels between the two main characters. That they're both very like fastidious, and they both clean up after themselves very well. Like when he
Hmm.
orders the sushi box for her when he's doing his initial interrogation,
Hmm.
and they both are like so in sync already that they're handing things to each other in order to clean off the table without saying a word. And it's there's four sets of hands there, but it's as though one person's doing the cleaning.
Hmm.
And the little date they go on at the Buddhist temple is also very nice. I really like the relationship between the two characters. So the fact that one of them has to die in order for the film to reach its ending kind of sucks because
Hmm.
although what makes their relationship so interesting is that he is somebody who lives in pursuit of justice. That's not really true. He lives in pursuit of like danger. He wants to be in close proximity to violence and murder. That's a point that his wife makes before she leaves him.
Hmm.
So because their relationship is predicated on that, and she has to kill someone in order to get him back into her life after they move to Ipoh. It by the time the end comes along, I'm just like, why does it have to end this way? And I would, although that is the sign of that you've really been enjoying a film and engaged by it,
Yep.
I prefer to really love the whole experience of watching a film and then being like, that was a great ending. Also,
All
but I
right.
do think this is a film where like the direction and the editing are just like in perfect
Yep.
harmony with one another.
All
So
right.
I,
So
I
you
like it for that
love.
reason.
All right. So your point that you longing for a happy ending.
No, no, I mean that. Like I said, I don't think this film could have ended a different way. I think it
Hmm.
makes sense, and it does bring the film to an appropriate conclusion that she dies in that manner, by
Yep.
her own hand.
Yep.
Because if anyone's going to take in her mind, like if anyone is going to take her away from Haejun, it'll be herself,
Yep.
not whatever conclusion his investigation comes to. It'll be her.
Yep.
There's power in that, I think, and
Hmm.
there is satisfaction to be had in that. But I just appreciated like every other element of the film more.
Yep. Understand. All right. Decision to live. I gonna have that down on my list as well. We talk about that. We cross that bridge when it comes to that.
Right. Or climb that mountain
Yeah.
when we come
Climb
to
that
it.
mountain or just pass by the beach.
Right. Yeah. Hopefully,
All
just
right.
pass by and not fall in a hole or dig one
Yeah.
and sit in it.
Cheese. Yep. So I will get to my number nine, which I would think that is on your top 10 as well. So let's go with that. My number nine is Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Okay. I won't spoil whether that's on my list or not.
All right. It's a film where I feel that there is so much to lie about it and also kind of overrated at the same time.
Oh, you
I
didn't
think
like that
the
it swept at the Oscars?
I didn't like that fact at all. I think it just like it is a film that really should be enjoyable as it is and not like not picking up or sweeping up any awards.
Hmm.
I really enjoy the multiverse concept for once. It's about an Asian family that I feel is brought hilarious to life. So I really enjoyed like the first half hours where like it started to introduce the family and then the concept,
Right.
and it also cut a lot deeper than it multiverse gimmick. So it's talk about it's essential it's seasonal
Existentialism.
this. Yeah, that's right. And other like the complex parental love and even like the husband and wife relationship as well.
Yeah. And the
It
mother
had
daughter relationship too. I
it
found the scene
is.
at the end where she like accepts her daughter
Yep.
to be
Uh,
perhaps the most powerful part of the film, at least in my
yeah.
mind.
or even like the daughter accept her as well. So it's come both way.
But yeah, that is true. Yeah.
And yeah, the film is perfectly cast by Michelle Yeoh and Ke Hee Kwon. That's how to spell his name. Um, you know anything about Ke Hee Kwon, by the way?
No, I mean I heard little bits and pieces when
Right.
the whole Oscar thing where this film won all the awards.
Yeah.
He was originally an actor, and he wasn't able to get work for a long time, or he
Yep.
fell into a lot of roles that didn't get him noticed, and then this film like kind of exploded him back into prominence, or perhaps into made like uh, prominence for the first time.
Yeah, he's a Chinese Vietnamese. So he was born in Vietnam from a Chinese family, but he had to leave because of the fall of Saigon. So he went to Hong Kong and then stayed there for a while, and then he came to America. I think he go by boat to America, so like one of the poor people. And then he get into acting in India Jones as short route in
Oh yeah, he was a kid in India.
yeah,
No,
he
he
was
was
that kid.
he was
He
a
was that kid.
sidekick to
Hmm. Yeah,
Indy
to
in one of the
India
films,
Jones.
and
That's
he was in
right.
he was in the Goonies too. Is that right? Or
So I
just
just
Goonies?
I just remember he was on that film on the India Jones, and then like that make him very famous, but he didn't do any acting scenes.
Yeah,
And
Wikipedia here says 19-year hiatus, and he was in the Goonies.
oh, he was in the Goonies, all
Yeah.
right. And then he came back just recently, just because after I think watching Crazy Rich Asian, that like he see there are potential for like Asian casting,
Right.
and he was inspired by like the casting of the film as well. So he came back from hiatus, and he acted in this film, and he won the Oscar for this one. So
Yeah.
a really happy ending for him actually.
Yeah. Well, not only a happy ending, but kind of a happy beginning. I'm sure he'll be getting more
Uh,
jobs if he wants them.
Absolutely, yes. Yeah, that's right. So back to this film. I also enjoy the film because it isn't here to like just one genre. So it can be an action movies, it funny at times, and it can be touching when it's want to be. So overall, it's a relentless movie that like uh it just never stop.
Yeah, that's true. I
Uh,
relentless is a really good word for it, I feel.
Well, and because of that, I feel that the movie is hindered by many silly antics that I'm not too sure that it ending up that much. Like like the entire universe where like we have the
Sausage
hands,
fingers?
the sausage figure. I don't get it, man. How
I don't
nuts is
either.
even?
I didn't
And
really understand. I mean, obviously the point is that the number of universes we're dealing with here is so vast that we're just as likely to encounter a universe where people have normal hands as we are to encounter one where we have hot dog fingers. Like there's no difference between the two of them when you zoom out far enough in terms of probability.
okay,
So I understand that that's the film's point in designing that scene is that your body, your digits and your limbs and whatever can have any shape whatsoever. There could be any sort of mutation going on. There could even be universes where you're not a human being and you're a rock with googly eyes, as in
yeah.
the scene where they overlook the Grand Canyon.
Oh, I love that. I love that scene
Yeah.
actually.
But how can you love that scene and not the hot dog finger scene? That's the question.
Not at all. Well, and
Because they
even
are, in terms of probability, they're the
yep,
same.
that's right. Well, and yeah, and there are some other scenes where like uh they have to be excited. I don't know the word they use. It's been a while, but in order for the multiverse happening, for the other version for them to enter the other version, they have to be like excited. So uh yeah, that's a lot of scene very silly to me. That uh yeah, I just don't think that is any good.
Hmm.
So for me, overall, everything, everywhere, all that one, it's just a joyous mess. It is. sometimes weird to the point of indulgent and overbearing at times, uh, but it delivers. So it's got good laugh and huge heart.
Hmm. All right.
All
Yeah,
right,
this was
so
one of the first films that I checked out from this year, of course, because of
mm, yeah,
you
it's
know
success.
its success and the reception to the film and everything. It was definitely one of the biggest films of the year in all possible
Hmm.
senses of the word.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. All right,
Okay.
we will wait. We will wait to see if it's on Wooper list or not.
Yeah. Well, you're gonna have to be waiting a while because this is gonna take us a while. Bear with us.
Yep, yep, yep.
So
What
my
is your
number
number
8,
eight?
it is Joyland, directed by Saim
Wow.
Sadiq.
Hmm.
So this is a Pakistani film about. It's difficult to say what it's about in one sentence because the temptation is to say that it's about a relationship between a transgender dancer and her one of her backup dancers who becomes her lover.
Hmm.
But really, I feel as though the film is about the backup dancer's family
Right.
because every member of that family there's some issue that they're experiencing as a result of whatever role they feel as though they need to fit into
Hmm.
in the place where they live. There was what was the name of the city in Pakistan where they live? Lahore, I think,
All right.
or Lahore, or Lahore. I don't know how you say it exactly, but it's the second largest city in Pakistan. I don't know whether
Hmm.
the film said that or I found out after Googling, but
Okay.
it's the second largest city in a pretty large country. And of course, this being the sort of country where there are very rigid expectations for what people will do based on their age or their gender or their relationship to their community, based on their birth, whatever it may be. Um, it makes things difficult for every character in the film, and I do think that the relationship between the transgender dancer Biba and the main character, I would guess he's the main character, Haider. It's one of the most intriguing aspects of the film, especially for me because I have not watched that much. I what would you call it? Trans cinema.
Hmm.
If you want to talk about
Queer,
movies that are well, yeah,
queer
but queer
cinema.
is like more of an umbrella term. I'm talking
Right.
specifically about like trans
Transgender. Yeah.
characters on screen. I haven't seen a lot of that, so this film
Hmm.
was pretty eye opening for me in that way. But really, to me, the heart of the film, I think, was the character of Mumtaz, who is the wife of the dancer who falls in love with Biba. Or the way that she is squeezed as a result of her relationship to every single character in the film, with the exception of her sister, maybe. Her father-in-law, her husband, her brother-in-law, the situation that she finds herself in after her husband's relationship with Biba becomes public or is at least exposed to their immediate circle. Like it's disappointment after disappointment for her, and like lost opportunity after lost opportunity, and her ultimate fate, and how her husband responds to that, how her family responds to that, the way that her demise and its aftermath is filmed is really difficult. It's really difficult to watch, and you feel good while watching it too. Like I don't know, the scenes. There are such stark scenes leading up to her death. I think she drinks rat poison in order to kill herself,
Ah,
and
right.
you see the bottle in her hand as she sits in the bathroom when her husband comes in to say goodnight to her. She
Hmm.
makes like a vague attempt to conceal it, but it's not completely hidden. Not from the camera, and it wouldn't be from him either if he were looking.
Hmm.
But he isn't because he's taken with another woman. And of course, he's got his own, difficulties and pressures in that relationship. And so he doesn't tend to his wife. Well, maybe tend to is the wrong title because that's what his brother wants him to do, like tend to your woman. But
Hmm.
he like loses touch with her as a result of how strained their relationship is and how strained their place in society is. Each of them in their own respective spheres. It's just like the breakdown of the relationships across this whole family and each of their immediate circles outside the family is terribly tragic.
Hmm.
And when I said that it's difficult to watch, but also rewarding, I mean, yeah, that's how I ought to phrase it. I think uh, part of what makes it so rewarding is how hard it is to get through.
Hmm.
And in this film, the ending, I've been going on and on about the endings of a lot of films. In this one, the ending is a character wading out into the water to commit suicide. So it's similar to Decision to Leave. But this time, you it I have like no. The ending is one of the best parts of this film for me because
Hmm.
I can completely understand Haider's despair at the way that the turns that his life has taken, the way he loses his wife, the way his relationship with Biba is ruined through, I would argue, no fault of his own. Um, is the of course it's not the only response that you shouldn't respond to a situation like that by taking your own life, but narratively, in terms of how the film progresses and where the script arrives at the end, I think it makes perfect sense from
Hmm.
a filmmaking perspective, from a writing perspective. It feels right to watch
Yep.
the main character wade out into the water and accept his own death. Um, just feel like the film comes together very well.
Yep. Right.
Yeah.
So Joyland is a film that I missed when I attend Cannes Film Festival last year. It's in the uncertain regard section, and yeah, I was meant to watch it, but I still haven't get around to it.
Oh shit!
And
I
based
just spoiled that whole film, dude.
no, no, that's all right. You also said like there will be spoilers, and that's
Oh yeah,
that,
that's
that
true.
that's fine. Yeah,
Well, if you don't
and
if you don't want me to say something about the
no,
film and you haven't
all good.
seen it, you can just say right up front, "Hey, I haven't seen that one." That'd be fine.
That all good.
I mean,
From what
I do
from
think that this film wouldn't lose much power
Yep.
for you to watch it, even knowing where it will go. Like, it's pretty clear that the film is going to be tragic in nature once you get a little, far enough into it. Doesn't take long.
Yep. From what based on what you described the movies now, I'm thinking of another one with kind of the same concept, but I still haven't get around to watch it yet either. It's the Blue Captain.
The what?
The Blue Captain. So the captain is like the how to describe that? This is uh the thingy in Morocco. The
I'm looking it up
the,
on
the
Wikipedia
rope
right now. I wasn't
kind of
sure.
like
It is indeed Caftan, Caftan.
yep.
Huh.
Yeah, so this also the story about a wife who realized that her husband is attracted to his apprentice, which is a male,
Hmm.
and
I see.
she on the verge of dying as well. So
Oh wow,
it's
yeah.
so well.
Does
I don't
he
think she could be suicidal, but it's about the relationship between these three people and
interesting?
they navigate their feeling to each other's.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, that's neat. Yeah,
yep,
I didn't even know this film existed.
well,
Might be interested to watch.
yep,
Moroccan. Hmm.
So yeah, good job picking up Joyland here. It's like one of these very under radar films, and I heard nothing but rave from people who watch it,
Yeah.
including you now.
I thought it was very good. I will. One of the reasons it's as far down as number 8 is because I there were points in the film, of course, that were very emotional, but I was kind of observing it clinically, I guess.
Right.
I was always interested in where the film was going and where it would arrive. Like I didn't really lose myself in it. I think it's a very studied movie, which is
Hmm.
not a bad thing at all. But a
Hmm.
lot of the films towards the top of my list are, the ones that got me to laugh or
Stronger.
that got tears out of me.
Yep. 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 All right. So get to my number eight. This is the film that won the Berlin Film Festivals, the Golden Bear.
Hmm.
Back in last year 2023, the one that I'm pretty sure that you watched because I think you have told me about that is Alcarràs
Hmm.
from
Yes,
Spain.
I have seen Alcarràs.
Yep. So I'm a fan of Carla Simon, the director's first feature film, Summer 1993. That film is about like a life of a kid. I think she's just about like 6 7 years old when her parent passed away because of it. So she been adopted by the uncles and by the uncles, and like she start to live with them as in family as well. So she have to navigate between like losing her old parents, whom's reason she didn't know yet, and kind of like new life as well. So this film is a bit I didn't enjoy it as much as Summer 1993, but it's still still a powerful work for me. So see, the directors have a knack of portraying a realistic performances from the non-professional and child actors, and this one is the same. Alcarràs is a film about a close-knit farming families. This could be their last summer picking peaches before they are forced to move out of their land for installing the solar panels. So
Right.
it kind of like between the old and the news now. So every moment they spend here could be the last they spend on that house. This film can be a slow burn at times with no real climax, but for me, it is small moments between the family members that really stick with me. Like how grandpa at one night, just like going around the field and looking at the fields,
Right.
or how the son is frustrated at his father decision, like every decision about about him uh to study and not to tend to the farming. I feel that the film packed a punch when it comes to the ending, where like the whole family we see staying together, and we see like uh, a vehicle that destroy all the trees that
Yeah.
like
It's like a
that mean
backhoe.
that yeah
That's
they income for generations. So it's such a sad ending and
yeah.
the perfect ending. Now we're talking about ending for me.
Yeah, it's interesting. I did like the ending of that film a lot because
Yeah.
it doesn't it doesn't give you any hope that you don't need. Like you understand having
Mhm.
watched the film and seen that all the efforts of the characters to uh, keep their farm and their home and everything. Well, I think they
Yeah.
get to keep their home, right? They work out some
They
sort of deal with the uncle or the
yeah
I forget
yeah
how
but
he's related exactly.
it's not even the uncle. It's like I think the two families are really close together for generations, so they are not really related by blood,
Right.
I think.
That's right. Well, I think the closeness between the families was within the older generations because
Yep.
the
Yep.
grandfather throughout the film like expresses his dismay that it's come to this even though like he didn't all he needed was the word of
Yep.
his friend that he would have a certain section of land and his
Yep.
friend would tend to the other section of land. Like he doesn't have the deed.
Yep. Yep.
Um, yeah, it was just done
And
by handshake or by verbal agreement, and now that bond is that trust is gone,
yep.
and that's how the film ends. Like because they don't have that deed, because he doesn't have the right to this land
Yep.
legally, it's being taken
Hmm.
away from him. Even though I would say like morally, he has every right to that land. That's where his
Yep.
family lives. That's where they work. That's where they've made their life.
Yep.
So I think
And
the ending probably argues against like the private ownership of land.
yep. And even though if they can keep the house, now that like their income land is gone, I don't think they're gonna stay there any longer.
I don't know. I mean, the family coming together at the end does there is like a sense of solidarity there
Hmm.
because even
Hmm.
though the main family has been fighting with the aunt and uncle who
Yep.
are like exploring their options for being, working
Hmm.
with the whole solar panel business,
Yep.
and they're seen as traitors at points, and they get into conflicts with members of the central family. I do
Yep.
think that them coming together and being in that one place as the backhoe, the construction vehicle, is tearing down those trees, does kind of reunite them,
Hmm.
and that sense of them being reunited may be an indicator that they are going to stay on that land,
Hmm.
by whatever means they can. Maybe they will capitulate to the solar panel thing
Hmm.
and make that their new business. I
Yep.
don't know.
Yep. Yep.
Maybe they would
Understand
value their family and
that.
their connection to that land, however slight,
That
over their pride.
that really makes sense as well because it's like the land they live, the soil that they like they have been staying for generations. It's you cannot just uproot them,
Right.
to go anywhere. So I think that makes sense. That ending makes sense as well.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a nice. It's like an ending that isn't. It's not really climactic or tragic, or it's not a happy end. It's certainly not a happy ending.
Hmm.
But it's a the visual of it is really great. It leaves you with something
Hmm.
to think about.
Hmm.
It's not definitive,
Hmm.
so the the fate is the fact that the family is together again is what's important, and you can think about what they where they might go from there.
Yep.
The film makes an argument, I think, with that final scene as well. So
All right. If I have one minor complaint, I would say that 2 hours is a bit too long for this film. I think if it can cut down for 15-20 minutes, I think it would benefit better. You
hmm.
know.
I enjoyed everything to do with all the kids playing.
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
really liked all those scenes. The coming of age stuff with the older sister and the older brother, I enjoyed.
Yep.
Um,
Yep.
I mean, those things do feel a bit loose in the script
Yep.
at times,
Yep.
but I didn't mind that. Like despite feeling that way, like when evaluating the film, I still enjoyed
Hmm.
following all those characters.
I agree. I agree. I think that make it authentic as well. Let's make it like we really get into like the heart of the families and like see them behave just 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 like themselves, and we can see them struggle in like in real life as well. So like it's as if looking at real people doing real stuff
Yeah,
and having real decision to make.
yeah,
So
definitely one of the most natural feeling films that I
that's I
watched.
agree. Yep. Yep. It's just not as special as Summer 1993, where she can, like pull a performance out of the child actors. I don't know if you watch the film, but
Mm-mm.
the last moment of that film is, like the girls 5-6 years old just playing with the new family, and then she bursts out to cry for no reason, and then everyone just tended to her and say like everything will be fine, and you just cannot get that performance out of it just pitch perfect.
Hmm.
And this one don't have that, don't have that, like glaring moment, but it's still a really very solid made movie for me.
All right. I'm going to go on to my number 7 here.
Yep, let's
I'll
go.
be
Let's
quick
do
about
that.
this one because I'm sure people are sick of hearing about it.
All
It's
right.
Triangle of Sadness.
Yep.
So this being the film that won the Palm in 2022, many
Hmm.
people have said their piece about it, so I don't feel the need to go into a lot of detail. I will say the film was broken up into 3 acts. My favorite
Yep.
by far is the third because of how it inverts the social structure.
Hmm.
The society that forms between the survivors, the castaways on the island.
Yep.
The fact that Abigail, the
Oh,
toilet
she's the
manager,
best.
was her title.
Yep.
Yeah. The fact that she ends up running a successful matriarchy, as Yaya points out when they go on their hike towards the end, is very enjoyable. I really like the whole reversal that the film goes through for the first act to the third. For example, when Carl and Yaya talk about money
Yep.
after their date when they're in the hotel, that that scene is kind of flipped
Hmm.
when Carl and Abigail, when they're in that big lifeboat or whatever that thing is.
Hmm.
What do you call that giant orange thing?
Oh, I would just say both.
Yeah.
I have no idea what.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When they're together in that thing and they're talking about the mechanics, I guess, of their relationship and how it came to be, and uh, it just feels like there are so many echoes of that conversation between Carl and Yaya from the first part of the film. Uh, the way the film gets there is very entertaining. I just feel as though this film is very fun, very
Hmm.
entertaining. Watching
Hmm.
all the rich people, some of whom
Yes,
have
true.
yeah, well, they wish they were getting screwed. Something a lot more unpleasant was happening to them.
Yep.
Um, yeah, the scene where they're all vomiting and like toilets are exploding, and the song by Refused, the punk band, is
Yep.
playing.
Is it a bit too much?
No, I don't
All
think
right.
so. I think a lot of people probably feel that way about this film, but I
I
feel as
did.
though its excesses are part of what makes it fun.
Right.
Uh, obviously the film is like there's social commentary smeared all over it,
Hmm.
but the film has so much fun with it that I think it
Yep.
works.
Yep.
It's not trying to be like point the finger. I mean, there is
Yep.
one scene where it points the finger, which is when Woody Harrelson's character, the captain, is talking about how the American government, uh, interfered in so many South American democracies, and like waged proxy wars and assassinated uh, figures, like political figures, Martin Luther King Jr., Malcolm X, and stuff. Uh, that regardless of how true or untrue those things are, uh, the fact that visually, like a flashlight is being shown in a bunch of characters' faces as though the truth is coming to light is a bit much. At least I felt.
All
But I
right.
have no problem with people like puking and shitting at the same time
All
because
right.
they've eaten like oysters that were not properly cared for because all the cooks
Yep.
had to go for a swim as a result
Yep.
of the stupid
One
hypocrisy
request.
of one of the
Yep.
that to me is all just hilarious. So I
Yep.
this was one of my to me this film was a comedy and it was
Yep.
probably my favorite comedy of the year.
Is Woody a bit too American to you? Like, like the scene where, they have all the fancy food and he's only did the hamburger and
Yeah.
chips.
He says, "Oh, I'm not a fan of fine dining." No, I thought that was great because he's
Right.
like the least, even though he's perhaps the most pretentious character like politically,
Yep.
he's the least pretentious character just in his day-to-day life. He's just a
Mhm.
drunk captain on a boat who doesn't particularly care that he has this elevated position. And
Yep.
he doesn't feel like having an emulsion of octopus in his, foie gras or whatever the fuck everyone else is eating. He just wants to eat the food that he likes.
Yep.
I think that kind of balances his character out a little bit.
Yep. All right. Triangle of Sadness. I seen many film by him, and he's
Ostland.
like Osland, and he's a great like social critic. Uh, this one I think he go a bit too wide,
The
and
wildness is
it's
the
a
point, man. That's the point of the
uh,
movie.
and a bit too exaggerated. Like the you have to watch the film that he break out Force Majeure. It's really sharp. It's safe for the ending. Now we're talking about all the ending, but I think this one Triangle Ascent they have a really good ending. Like you get a really big laugh at the end. Uh, he's I think he's the master of like going uh to the like uncomfortable feeling. Like if you see like the on-screen characters get uncomfortable, he just love to push that and push. And yeah, I think that this film he succeed on that front as well. Certainly like hit more police film to that, and I enjoy the third session and the first. The second session not that much, but still
Ah, you didn't like seeing everybody thrown up and stuff?
that's a bit too much for me.
Oh, I thought it was fantastic.
Right.
Not,
Well,
and it's not because like I'm left leaning, but I'm not like super left. So when I was
yeah.
watching the film, I wasn't like enjoying everyone throwing up because they were all just like rich assholes. I just
Hmm.
thought it was tremendously entertaining.
Yep, yep, yep. Like everything could go wrong, go wrong.
Yeah. And the
Yep.
fact the fact that it happens as a result of that one woman being like, let's reverse roles. I'm gonna be the poor servant girl, and you all are gonna go for a swim. This is very.
you
it's the best
and
possible way that could come
yeah,
about.
yeah, and you have to say yes to everything.
Right. If you want to get your bonus. Money, money, money,
Oh,
money,
I love
money,
that. I
money,
love,
money, money.
I love that. I love that. I love that. But Jesus, this film.
Yeah.
Yes, and I think the best part, the most brilliant part, is to have Abigail to to being from the clean lady manager to become like a captain, me
Yeah.
captain.
Yeah.
The way
In the yacht,
she's
cleaning lady, here, captain.
yep, she she did that very well.
Yeah. Yeah, she was the linchpin of the film in my mind.
Yep, yep. So it very close. This film very close to make it to my honorable mention,
All right.
but it's not in my top 10.
Hey, no worries. Speaking of top tens, what do you have at number seven?
All right. What I have at number 7 is one of the film that you mentioned before. Is Nope.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I watched Nope in theaters, and after watching it, I was a bit disappointed because especially when you compare that to Jordan Peele's for two movies that like that would sit comfortably at like at the top of my year end list on in these years. Still though, I think this film's still grow on me ever since. So on the surface, it's a film about a monster movie that happened to be an alien of the sky. It's still it's thrilling, it's funny, and it's unpredictable. But it also asks a lot of questions. Like a Stephen Ewan characters and his decision. Like his backstory as well. It is something that uh we can we can think a lot more and try to like try to interpret it in
Right.
any way we want.
Yeah, it
Uh,
is. It is interesting to think about, like the whole thing with Gordy's Home, like the fictional sitcom, and the monkey going
yeah,
crazy. How that link. I mean,
yeah.
you can. There are some easy links that you can make to it
Mhm.
mentally, but then you think about it a little more. You wonder what exactly Peele was trying to say. It's kind of
Yeah,
a little bit of a
I
puzzle, which is fun.
yeah, that's right. And it's a sad thing to say that his character is actually the most interesting characters, and like he left the scenes halfway to the movies.
I think Jean Jacket is the most interesting character.
Really? Right.
Yeah, man.
The film doesn't give much explanation towards the end, and for me, that both a good and bad thing. Like good thing is that it still leave a lot for us to interpret, but the bad thing is that like it function more like a uh just a a horror action movies where
Yeah, in the
where the
last
monster
act.
die
Yeah.
at the end. Yeah.
It's great though.
Still,
It's great though. I love the
yeah,
design. I read that. Of course, I have to bring up Evangelion. I
yeah.
read that Jordan Peele was inspired by Evangelion in designing the jean jacket, like
Monster.
his full
Hmm.
form.
Yep.
And I can
Yep.
honestly, I can kind of see it.
Hmm. I kind of understand that as well. Yes.
I mean, there are some angels in Ava that look nothing like that. Like the big blue rhombus looking thing.
Yep.
But some of the more like kind of aquatic looking ones,
Hmm.
Jean Jacket looks kind of similar in its
And even
final
the
form.
concept, like before we know there is a monster of the sky, we see like on the strange phenomena like a horse just like just lifting up to the sky. It's just freaking amazing.
Yeah, it's a fun film.
So yeah, for me, I think this year, 2022, last year, it's have a lot of great horror movies, and I have mentioned, like three of the horror movies. I really enjoyed the genre movies of the year.
You've mentioned three horror movies: Barbarian, I guess Nope, if you're counting it, and what's
And
the?
Crime of the Future.
Would you think that film's a
It's
horror film?
it's a horror film. It's the body horror movies,
Hmm.
right?
I really don't see it that way. I feel like the film is kind of a work of speculative fiction. I wasn't really horror. I mean, I was a little grossed out at some points watching that film, but never to the point that I had
Scare.
to look away.
Yep, yep, yep,
Yeah, and I don't like. I mean, if it was a horror film, I would know because I don't like horror movies. I
yep,
can't really
yep.
handle them. But everybody, uh, you ask 10 people, you might get 10 different responses about whether it is or
Mhm,
isn't.
yep. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Nope is not in your top 10 because you mentioned it just by the score of it.
Right. Yeah. The
You have
score of
any
Nope
other
was my honorable mention. Yeah.
Yep. You have any other note you want to say about Nope?
Nope.
All right. You go to number six. All right. And in Barbarian, there is a scene where the main character just like just tempting to go into like the dark alley and she just said nope as well.
Oh, really?
Yep.
I wonder if that was
I
a
don't
shout
know.
out.
Yeah, I don't know if that's shout out or wing into this film, but it's fun nonetheless.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna go on to number 6 if that's cool.
Yeah, let's do that.
All right. My number 6 is Cha Cha Real Smooth. So
Mhm.
this is an age gap romance that ends in failure. So of course that's something that I look forward to, that I look for in a movie, I guess. I'm interested in that sort of thing. It's a character study as well, so and I think it's a pretty good one. The film is a little like the main character, who's played by the director Cooper Raiff, I think is his name, is like the dialogue's a little too cute. It's a little too indie at times. And the fact that he's a college graduate who doesn't really know what he wants to do. He hasn't worked out his plan for his life, and he's working some shit jobs, and It feels very, it feels like I'm even at 33, I might be too old for this film. But I really enjoy the central relationship between the two, I guess, romantic leads, even though they don't end up together. And they're Andrew and Dakota are their names. No, wait, Dakota Johnson is the actress who plays Domino, so their names are Andrew and Domino.
All right.
I enjoyed getting to know both characters, learning about each of them individually, their struggles, the way that they become attuned to each other's issues in life and how they try to support each other through them. It's pretty After the Rain-esque, honestly. It's the ages of the characters and their situations and the setting all very different, but I think they share something. They share some common DNA deep down. One of the interesting parts about the movie is that Domino has an autistic daughter, and the bond that Andrew forms with her is enjoyable. I do think that even though the film, like, specifically written into the script is like her not wanting him to treat her like a baby, like not wanting to talk down to her or condescend to her or anything. So the film is treating her character with respect. She's also actually played by an autistic girl, an autistic actor, which I think is pretty rare for movies like of any kind. And that's great. I don't know if the film completely succeeds in its mission to have him never patronize her, because sometimes it comes across that way. But that in itself can be like part of the character's relationship, because it's meeting someone with that particular, who lives that sort of life, that it can be tempting to, patronize them or baby them. So the way that the film navigates that, tries not to do it, and sometimes stumbles, but ultimately creates an interesting, back and forth between the two of them, is kind of enlightening. It's fun. It's fun to watch. It's entertaining. It's also informative and unpredictable. I like the romance aspect of it too as well, but I don't imagine that you've seen this film, so that's something, if you ever watch it, you can discover for yourself. Yeah, it's a neat little character piece, kind of quirky, and fun film. It has a few moments that'll make you cry too. I enjoyed it. That's all I gotta say.
Yep. I still yet to watch Chacharismo, so I gonna watch it real soon. But you have to know Dakota Johnson, right? She's the
I mean, I
one
know
who play.
she's mega famous.
Yeah, she play 50 Shades of Grace.
Yeah, I can't say I've ever seen that movie, but I think that film is one of the main reasons why she's so famous. I think the performance that she gives in this, to me, she carries the film. She is extremely vulnerable, but the way that her relationship, the way the relationship goes between her and this younger guy, like how she leads it and where it ends up, and her part in that, kind of indicates a lot of inner strength on her part as well. So
Yep.
she is given a lot of room to maneuver. Like, she's allowed to display a lot of range, I think, even though it is a rather quiet film on the whole. I can tell, just having seen her in nothing but this film, I can tell she's quite a strong actress.
All right. Great variety for you so far. So this one is a comedy romance films with
Yeah, there are some. I don't see it really as a comedy. I mean,
right.
I guess a
Dramedy.
dramedy is what I would
Yep.
say. It kind of straddles the line. If you put a gun to my head and made me pick, I might end up with comedy, but I
Right.
think there's a nice balance.
Yep. All right. Good pick.
How
Very
about you?
inspiring one, actually. So my number six is Tori and Lokita.
I have seen this film at your recommendation.
All right, nice. It's a super realist film from the Daddy's brothers. The brothers who have a great fascination to the poverty, who try their who try their best to make ends meet, and to the bleak world that is often very brutal to them. So their approach they very closely, very close up to the character face, draw full attention to the characters and all the action that they take. It have that both Tori and Lokita is the characters that we were following around.
Hmm.
Um Life is a living hell for them, but they they try their best to make ends meet and to try over their situation. It is bleak in tone, it is stripped down in presentation, but it's for me ultimately a rewarding viewing, and it will hit you hard.
Yeah,
The ending, man, it just it's very sad, it's very brutal, but it it stick.
yeah.
How
The
do you like the movies?
I enjoyed it. Um, the the final scene with Tori reading,
Singing the song.
yeah,
Yep,
singing,
reading.
also reading his like prepared what he had written, and then singing the song that he and his sister sang in the restaurant to make a little money because they were trying to make money however they could
Yep.
in order to, you know, what is it that they were trying to earn money for? It was to to buy
Does he?
papers for the girl, right? Because the brother, Tori, he had his papers,
Yep.
but she
Yep.
didn't.
Yeah. The thing is, they not related at all by
Right.
blood. They just try to be a fake father for Tori. So that's Lokita can get the paper. Yes.
Yeah. The so what I was saying was that the him speaking and then singing at her funeral reminded me of the kid at the end of, damn, what was that? What was the film? Yee Yee.
Oh, right. Right.
What him
Hmm.
saying, "I am old now too." I mean, perhaps there's not that strong a parallel between those two scenes, but that's what came to mind. Like the film closing on the words of its youngest, most vulnerable character, who has been, who has grown up when perhaps they should have stayed a child
Yep.
for longer.
Yep.
I really like the scene where Lokita, I'm sorry, where Tori breaks into the, I
Yep.
guess it's a marijuana, uh, like a greenhouse.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's, there are no windows. I don't know if it qualifies as a greenhouse, but that's what she's growing, I think, is marijuana. And the film being so meticulous and showing how he breaks in and like the different floors that he has to descend and like a heater or air conditioning unit or something that he has to put his legs against and push in order to make a gap that he can get through in order to get into a room. That very very physical and long scene was one of my favorite parts of the movie. Like the lengths that he had to go to in order to see his not his sister, but I mean she may as well have been
Yep.
given the way the film developed.
That's right.
Like the difficulties that he had in trying to see her, but the fact that he was never put off. He never gave up. He struggled, but it hardly seemed like he even despaired.
Mm-hmm.
He was extremely resilient character. I
Yep.
enjoyed that about the movie too.
Yeah, so is that the first Daddy's Brothers movies that you have watched?
I think so.
Yeah, because they are really influenced by Preston, who make Robert Preston, who make Altaza.
Oh, I see.
So yeah, so like all these release and the powerful ending. So normally they would go for like very gritty events. The person had to go through that, and then there is a ending that like either like this one very devastated or very uplifting.
Hmm.
So we got like the sad the end this time, but still powerful nonetheless.
Yeah. Yeah. This is a film I didn't even have on my radar at all until you brought it up.
Cool.
But it was a
I wonder if
nice
it's
experience.
in your top 10. So let's see.
Well, you're gonna have to
What?
find out.
Yeah. What is your number five then?
Well, I'll tell you, number five is not Tori and Lokita. It is Aftersun.
Right.
This
A
film
very little film from Ireland, I think. Let's
from
go.
what?
Ireland.
What do you mean? Are you saying that someone's name or the word island?
Yeah. The country Ireland.
Oh, Ireland. Yes.
I think so. I'm not sure. I think maybe from Wales or Ireland.
It
It's
says
like one
It
of
says
these.
United Kingdom here
All right. So
on Wikipedia. But the film doesn't take place in the UK. It takes place
that's
in
right.
Turkey, where
Hmm.
a father and his daughter are having a vacation before she has to go back to school. And I'll tell you,
All right.
this film, it's gotten rave reviews. Everybody loves it. Everybody says it'll totally break your heart. And it took me a long time to settle into this film's rhythm because it's broken up by the videotape scenes where you see the vacation as it's happening. And I think it happens roughly chronologically, but interspersed throughout the film are also scenes that are recorded of the vacation on a video camera that is shared between the
Mm.
father and the daughter. I
Yep.
think she does most of the recording,
Mm.
and the film it's also very contemplative, very slow, lots of shots of the sky and people who are like parasailing or hang gliding or whatever in the sky, and you're kind of left to wonder at some points when the film hits a particularly slow passage, like what am I watching? Where are we going? But I mean, I just need to start cutting all my things real short because we're getting close to 2 hours, and maybe we'll go past 2 hours. That'd be fine. But
It's to be expected. We just hit number 6, number five.
yeah.
Sorry.
Well, I mean, I really don't.
Yep.
Anyone who has seen this film doesn't need me to say a word, because when you get to the end, you you immediately, like all of a sudden, you understand everything that you've just seen. So I just this I while watching this film, and there were parts of it that I didn't particularly enjoy, I guess. None of it was
Mhm.
objectionable to me, and I really didn't dislike any of it, but it really took the last few minutes clicking for me to be like, oh, I understand. I mean, I could tell the father's depression. I could get a sense of where the film was headed, and what that character's ultimate fate would be. But the way that it arrived, the way it told you what had happened to him, and how the daughter was working through that was it was very just such a smart way of cluing you in, and kind of pushing you to the place where you need to be as a viewer. I feel like After Sun really steers you as an audience member, so that you're letting the film come over you and you're not really participating in it, which can be a nice experience.
Yep.
I just feel like the film had a very steady guiding quality to it, that you can not have the most confidence in it, but it'll still get you where you need to go.
Yeah,
That was
I
my
remember.
experience, so I liked it.
Yeah, I remember distinctly a various shot at the dance floors where we see we can barely make out, like who's in it.
Yeah,
And
the rave. You're talking about the rave scenes. Yeah,
the what? Sorry, the
rave.
rave. All right. Yep.
Yeah,
And yeah, we we barely make out of the father, and then the older, the current version of the daughter, so like they are in the same age, and then she tried to reach out to him but he couldn't listen, so like it gradually come at times, but I think it just stopped at the right time. It just, like it's just like the really perfect amount of time that they use for that scenes.
yeah. Well, the fact that it ends with him going through that door into the
Yep.
rave,
Yep. Yeah, that's right.
and that kind of being the definitive statement on where his character ended up, even though you
Yep.
knew already what had happened
Yep.
to him and why.
Yep.
When he walks through the door after having filmed his daughter, like how it all kind of fits together in terms of time, like the chronological aspect of the film is kind of broken in that moment, but it does it in such a like a sensible way.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
I was like, I just when I watched even just the final shot, I was like, oh, and then I was like overcome, you know.
Yep. I would say, talking about perfect ending, this one, like have a really perfect ending for
Yeah,
me.
so much of the film comes down to the ending, I think, too. So everything was riding on it.
Yep. Ha. It's a great it's a great pick for you for sure.
Well, it's expected, I think.
Right. My number five is the Banshee of Inisherin.
Okay, yes. Okay, so I'll tell you straight up front, this is not on my list, and I was a little bit perplexed by this film, so you're going to have to explain it to me.
Wow, all right. So I'm already a fan of his previous works, especially in Crucis. This is a film that uses the same actors from the film. So it's have everything that you expect from the director style. It have like great banters, great dialogue all around. There's a burst of violence that makes you squirm. I think the film really is about the notion of kindness and about, like two very lonely souls, especially the guy who decided to break up the friendship with the other guys.
I mean, the
Um,
film presented his desire to break up the friendship so matter of factly that
yep.
it was hard for me to interpret what he was going through as like loneliness. I mean, I have no doubt that's one of the film's central themes and what part of what the director was trying to get at. But
Mm.
he was so direct. Like, I think you're dull. I think you're boring. I don't have that much time left on Earth. I don't want to spend it with you.
I yeah,
That was
I
hard
do
for me to
think that.
get past, honestly.
Yeah, I do think that he had the resolve to do that, and he had all the right to do that as well. But I think that the story, when goes on, we see that, like this is the one kind of request that unreasonable to begin with. The other person, like his name Patrice, he really conflicted by that idea as well, and he isn't pride enough to, like to make to know where to stop, and that's like all the thing happened with the other guy who, like cut off the fingers, and, like just to prove the point.
Colum.
Combs, yeah.
Yeah, Brandon Gleason's character.
And even though that, like he playing, his instrument, so he would need his fingers, he would do that just to cut off with Patrick. I think the whole thing is just uh yeah, very unreasonable to begin with, but it's so that he had the result for, like cutting off with his long-term friend here.
But but why? Like, okay, let's say he doesn't want to be friends with this guy anymore. As you said, he needs his fingers to play the violin, which seems to be his passion in life.
Yep.
Why cut off your like? There's no real magic or mysticism or metaphor to what he's doing to his body. He's really doing it, as far as I can tell, the way the
Hmm.
film's presented. If you love the violin so much and you really hate this guy so much, then just cut off one finger. So you can
He
still play the
did cut off, I
violin.
think.
Like, don't why cut off the
Yeah,
rest? I mean, or
yeah,
why after cutting off one do you do then the remaining three all at once? Just do one more.
yeah. Because he did say that to portray, just like just to warm him, but the other guy just doesn't know where to stop.
Well, I get that, but I
Yeah,
just think it's really, you know, the
I
film's
think the
not really
same.
allegorical. It just presents things literally as they happen. And this guy's cutting off his fingers so he can't do the thing that he loves the most in his whole life. Why?
Yeah, I
I
think
mean, I know
we.
why, but it doesn't make any sense to me at all.
Yeah, I think the point is it worth it
No, is
for
the
for
immediate
for
answer.
Combs? Yeah, well, for Combs, he think that is worth it, and I think that's the thing. Uh,
Yeah.
that keep us separate from like from us the audience, where you think that he like overreacted, and even to Patrick's sisters who think that like he overreacted, but for him he think that he does the right thing. He does what what he's like to do. So yeah, it is a whole really complex about like the inner tumor for all these characters, even to Patrick later on, where he doesn't like to talk to him anymore and try to burn down the house, comp house.
Yeah. Uh, I think I just don't get this movie, honestly.
Yeah,
I don't get it.
I think I think it is sharply written, and yeah, I really enjoyed the dialogue as well.
The dialogue's yeah, I like the dialogue. Um, there, like the for example, the scene where he gets drunk and he confronts Colum about not wanting to be his friend anymore, and
Yep.
presents himself as like morally righteous, and Colum as having like broken the social contract. He says, "I'm nice, and you're not, and maybe you never were." I think that's a nice piece of writing. It's a point in the film in which it can turn and move in a different direction. That's
Hmm.
pretty you know it's pretty sharp.
Hmm.
I really liked Barry Keoghan's character, Dominic.
Hmm.
Um, the kid who gets beat up by his dad. His dialogue was pretty
And die.
interesting. Yeah,
Yeah, and die. He's the only one that died. He got the very short stick in this
I can't.
in
I
this
just
film.
watched this film just like 2 days ago, and I can't remember. He commits suicide, right?
That's a good question. I think he fall down because there was a storm, right? And he just been hanging out outside. So I think he been hit by the storm, he been affected by the storm and died, not because he committed suicide. That's what I remember.
Hmm. Um. Okay. I'll take your word for it, I guess.
All
But
right.
I mean, I enjoyed his character a lot. How strange he was, and how people seemed to resent him, but he just kept on. He was himself no matter what.
Yep. Yep. Yep.
Even in that scene with Shaban, the sister, who was my favorite character in the film. Like the scene between the two of them where he's expressing his interest in her. He's undeterred. He even though he can tell right away when their conversation
Hmm.
starts that it's not going to work out for him the way he wants. He still has something to say, so he gets the words out, even though it's hard. Um, I enjoyed that about his character, but yeah, I mean, I wish this film had been a completely different film and had been about Shaban instead of Pydrick and or Colum.
Hmm.
So I was this. I just am not perhaps not attuned to this film's wavelength.
Yeah, yeah. I can totally understand that.
And I mean,
Maybe.
but this film is very highly acclaimed, so I do feel as though I'm missing something. You know,
Well,
perhaps I will one day figure out what that something is.
yep. All right. Why is your number four, Wooper?
Number
We
four
only
is
have four left for each.
yeah. My number four is Broker by
Right.
Koreeda.
Mm-hmm.
So having really loved Shoplifters when I saw it,
Mm.
I came into this film with high expectations, and it wasn't like starting the film off and all the characters getting slotted into their roles, you know, because there are cops and there are gangsters, and there are the main characters who are trying to sell the baby, and there's one of them is a prostitute and her relationship to the baby's father and her madam, who she calls mom. Those things are all explored. So as the film was putting all those characters into place, um, I felt like it was a little sterile. It didn't quite have the warmth, like the immediate warmth that Shoplifters had. But of course, as the film went on, the characters grew closer. Just through conversation. They do have that. They do go to the amusement park towards the end,
Mm-hmm.
which is like a big event for them. But even without a lot of other similar events throughout the film, mostly just them driving and talking and staying in hotel rooms. You know, of course, Koreeda started to work his magic, and by the time you got to, I assume you've seen this film.
Yep.
Okay, by the time they got to the "Thank you for being born" scene, I was just the tears were just coming nonstop. Like I could not get myself together. It was just it was so uh, just very beautiful.
Yeah.
And the fact
Yeah.
that the youngest, well, not the youngest person in the room, because obviously the baby,
Mm-hmm.
Woo Sung, was the youngest person in the room, but the second youngest, the orphan who stows away with them, I think his name was Haejun.
Yep.
I don't, I think I have that right. The fact that he says it back to the main female character, So Young, was like the cherry on top. It was a really amazing scene, and the once I got to that scene, you know, the whole film just reached another level for me. I also some of the last minute developments with regards to Sang Hyun, the eldest of the characters in the film, you know, the eldest of the makeshift family who are trying to sell this baby. The fact that he kills the gangster, you know, off screen, and you realize it later when you're seeing a news report on TV, and his short scene with his daughter, where his daughter delivers the news that his ex-wife is pregnant with a new child, did a lot for his character towards the end, because I felt like even though he's played by a very strong actor in Song Kang-ho, he was mostly, you know, his character was pretty mild, I thought, up
Mm-hmm.
until that point. But when you realized his like depth of feeling, and what he was motivated to do in order to secure the independence of the child, Wo-sung, that's really it. You have to think about it a little because the film doesn't put it right up in your face. But the more you think about it and the more you reflect on his performance throughout the course of the whole movie, the more powerful it becomes. So, you know, of course, great performances. The only criticism I have of the film, I guess, I mean, I have other little nitpicks here and there, but the music was like, it felt like a last minute decision to use just like little softly plucked acoustic pieces in order to bridge scenes as the car is driving on the highway to the next hotel or the next destination. The music didn't always, it didn't feel specific. Um, so I mean, it was nice, but it was kind of harmless. It wasn't risky at all. It didn't really have a lot to say. I feel a lot to add. But apart from that, dude, the "Thank You for Being Born" scene just fucking destroyed me. So
Yeah,
that's all I got.
it's yeah, it's a really beautiful film. I think in a way it's like a companion to Shoplifters. Like another massive family
Yeah, I guess
who
it's similar, but I don't, I want to resist comparing them too closely. I don't know. Maybe because Correada wouldn't appreciate that.
yeah, I feel the same. And yeah, there are many really strong relationship around. Like the way that they build uh trust into each other, and they starting like to trust each other, and then at the very end I think the girl selling them out, and the main guy, I think his name is Dong Shu, he realized that, but he still like he's still doing it that anyway,
Yeah, I think he
getting caught
welcomes
by the
it.
police. Yeah, he welcomes it. It just for me that moment is really worth it. Like all the scene that we watched before. Um, I'm not sure about the police detective. They come right together at the end, but like it feel like it's the film split it into like two half. Like having them pursue the family and the family themselves.
Yeah, I get what you're saying. I mean, certainly I think they're one of the film's weaker parts, I guess, or they're not essential. Um, but I don't know. I mean, they were an important part of the film ultimately because we need someone to follow these characters. It can't just be about them growing closer without any risk of them being split apart. It's the fact that they grow close despite the risk that makes their bond, more entertaining and more, moving.
I do think that Koreeda just in the peak of his prime right now. He just keep making movies
Yeah, he does seem to
every
be
single
doing a little
years.
bit of a Yuasa thing where he's
Yeah,
just always working.
yeah, and like every film that is highly acclaimed, right? Broker is not as acclaimed as like compared to Shoplifter and Monster, and it's still a really really good movies. So yeah, I think he's on the winning streak at the moment. Hopefully, he keep it up.
Yeah, I'm excited to see Monster. I don't know when that'll come out, but I'll
Yep,
be downloading that as soon as possible.
yep. All right, so get to my number four is the one that on your list before. It's Leila Brothers.
Okay.
I watched it back in Cannes, and this is the one movie that I say that like really floor me because I wasn't expecting anything out of this movie at all, and after like 3 hours, almost 3 hours of watching it, I was completely floored. The director, he's about my age as well,
Oh yeah.
and yep, pretty
kind of
young, and
kind of surprising to hear that
yeah,
because
guy
the film is so like in terms of ages, it's
mature.
so wide ranging.
Yeah, that is true. And for me, like compared to the Holy Spider, even I even think that it touched the com the misogynies much better than Holy Spiders. So for me, the film doesn't necessarily tackle misogyny, but rather how the patriarch system is, like really pointless to begin with. So take Leila, for example. She's for me, she's the most sensible person in the family. But throughout the movie, we can see that she blended into the background of the families, and she had her hands full with like her parents, her unemployed brothers, and try to do everything to be out of poverty. But at the end of the day, it's Leila brothers who the one who make all the decision and make the wrong decision. Uh, and because of like their lack of foresight, and because of their pride as well as a man of the family. So I think it's Leila Brother is a film that is about the dynamic of this poverty family, and had a lot to comment about the Iranian complex social and familial values. So,
I
and
mean,
I really
yeah.
love the ending as well.
Yeah,
Yep.
sure, certain. I mean, the film's also very long, so certainly it
Yep.
has a lot to say. Um, it's very funny as well. I I feel like this film is ordinary enough that you would get way more out of it being Iranian yourself,
Hmm. Hmm. Agree.
because it is mostly just about. I mean, even the scam that is explained to the brothers when they go to
The brothers,
the office
one of the
building
brothers. Yep. 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 Yep.
early on, and they ride that elevator, and they're all like in awe of how like fast it moves and how sleek and
Yep.
beautiful it
Yep.
is.
Yep.
They go to that office, and the scam is explained to them, like selling the cars but never actually delivering.
Hmm. Hmm.
Um, when you think, seeing that scene for the first time, oh, okay, so this is where the movie's going, but the movie is
Yep.
actually way more ordinary than that.
Yep. Yep.
Its conflicts are way, like, the stakes are lower, at least on like a macro scale. But
Wow.
the
And it is for me the opposite. Like it is for me, like it have a lot of twist and turn,
it
and
does.
even like as the main character, as the character we follow, like we don't really know like the master plan. It's you remember like the wedding scenes
Yes. Oh, the
where
wedding scene was wonderful.
yeah, he had to struggle between like telling in the other family that they don't have the money, they have to do that. I think it's really cruel for the for Leila and others to put him into that position. But at the same time, it just like it's if you want to push someone, it's the way to do it. It's not nice to say that, but it worked in the context of these films, and then he learned a big lesson out of it as well. So yeah, I just got like when I think about this movie, I just think of a lot of like powerful scene that keep building up and end up until the end of its run.
Mm-hmm. All right. So that's your number four. So we're down to the top three for each.
Yep,
Okay. Shall
let's do
I
it.
shall I take us into top three territory?
All right, let's do that.
Okay. My number three is The Quiet Girl. This one of the reasons I enjoyed this movie was I got to hear people speaking Irish, like not with an Irish accent, but in the Irish language, Gaelic, I guess, which was fascinating to me. I don't think I had ever heard someone speak Gaelic before, like in any context. And this is a very beautiful movie, and to hear all the beautiful dialogue being spoken in such a foreign language, and that seemed to me, to my ears, almost harsh at times, was an interesting juxtaposition. Another interesting point about the film, or something that contributed to my enjoyment of it in relation to its being Irish, was the how picturesque the movie was. This movie is presented in 4:3 aspect ratio. At least I hope it was, because that was the version that I watched. It was in 4:3. So it feels a little limited visually when you're watching it, just in terms of the size of the frame, but just how beautiful the property that the main characters live on, um, the the size of the trees and how the sun filters through them, um, and the road that the main girl, Kite is her name, Kite. It looks like Kate. It looks like you're supposed to say Kate, but it's pronounced Kite. Uh, the road that she runs up and down, as that kind of plays into her evolution as a character. It's represented in how she runs and how quickly she does it, or how she moves her arms. Uh, the expression on her face as she travels from the house to down to the mailbox at the end of the driveway. Uh, the way she's filmed and how her hair streams out behind her, and the focus on her eyes and her lips. There's such subtle acting being done, on her part by Catherine Clinch, who plays Kite. And the fact that it happens in such a beautiful place, the Irish countryside, really just a gorgeous looking movie, to say nothing of how emotional it is, because it's about a relationship, as both Aftersun and Broker, and now The Quiet Girl on my list, all about relationships between parents, so to speak, and children. Because The Quiet Girl is about the relationship between a girl and her distant aunt and uncle, who become parents to her, and the difficulties that they have in forming that relationship, and also the successes and the sweet victories as well. So that's the long and short of it. It's a very beautiful looking film, very moving film, and it's about a kid, a kid has to who has to learn and is taught to love, even though she hasn't experienced much love in her life. She learns how. Probably one of my favorite subjects that a movie could possibly cover, and this film does it very well.
Nice. So it does have everything. It does have like a very good cinematographers, you say, very picturesque,
Yes, very
uh,
picturesque.
a,
Yeah.
a very strong performance, a story that that is like one of your favorite subject.
Yeah, story's simple, but the film is the performances are good enough, the visuals are beautiful enough. Everything about the film, it carries along nicely. There's no complaint that I could possibly have about the story being simple, when its simplicity is what allows it to focus on everything else that's beautiful about it.
Yep, very nice. All right, my number three is another one that you talked earlier. Decision to Live. So
Okay.
I gonna make it quick. Uh, Patch Woods, he's one of his films. I enjoy. I watch all of his movies and enjoy most of them. So Decision to Live is like very up to high on my watch list already before even I watch it. For me, Decision to Live is his more emotional, mature work yet. There is a romance between the two leads, but there is no sex involved, which is pretty rare for Black and Wood. And it's more about like how they longing for each other. So like the moments that he left her is the moment they fall in love, or that,
Do you
and it
did you
has.
believe that when she said that? Did you believe her?
I do actually. I think that before that she just used him.
Hmm.
for her advantage. So and a bit interested to him, but the moment that he left her is the moment that she realized that she fell in love. Yeah, so I believe as she said. Uh, it from like the police investigation, so it have like a sense of like a pop fiction to it. Uh, I I I don't like how he resolved the first murders because I still think that it's a stretch. Just like going through her motion and come up with the exact steps and think that this is like a good proof to prove her murder. Nah, no,
Well,
not
I
in.
mean, the fact that
Does that
he,
make sense to you? It
yeah,
doesn't make sense to me.
yeah. I
All
mean, he
right.
accidentally comes across when he's closing all the apps on the Monday Granny's phone, as she's referred
Mm-hmm.
to. The client that
Yep.
she goes and sees on Monday. He sees, open on the app is 138 stories,
Yep.
and
Yep.
obviously, like his mind is clearly going to go to that mountain because that's even how the film opens. Is the investigation of that murder that happens at a very, very high place, and the guy who dies
Yep.
is her husband. Like, what else is he gonna think when he sees
Yep.
just the number 138? That right there, like the pieces would click into place. Makes sense to me.
All right. In any cases, I think the direction is really great. Yeah, we got a lot of shot from the victim point of view. It actually pretty inspiring.
Oh, like when you see shots through his eyeball, with the ant with the bugs on top of it. Is that what you're talking
Yeah,
about?
that's right. That's right. That's
Yeah,
right.
and you
And
also
and
see characters
look
like
at the
through phone
mountains.
screens and stuff like that.
Yep. Yep. That's correct. So I think technically the film is just top notch.
Yeah.
The relationship between the two main characters are very interesting, and I think I still prefer this ending. So it end is a sad note, and she doesn't need to like to commit suicide, but you uh I
I
I
mean, she's
think that
committed two murders. I think that
no, she only committed one murder. The other one she didn't do it. Oh wow, she didn't directly do it.
what do you mean?
All right, so you know who killed the second husband of her?
Yeah, her husband.
No, 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 nope, nope, nope. The second husband.
Oh yeah,
The
Slappy.
Yep. So she intent. Oh yeah, 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 yeah. So you mean by she killing the
She
old
killed
woman?
Slappy's mom in order to
Yeah,
provoke him to kill her husband so that the
yeah,
detective would have a reason to talk to her again.
yeah,
She
yeah,
committed two
yeah, yeah.
murders.
Yep, yep. Or even
And
three with her mom before.
well, that I was kind of disappointed in how what the low level of detail that was provided
Hmm.
regarding her relationship to her mother and why her mother wanted to she wanted like her daughter to
Yep,
help her commit assisted suicide. Like why? I don't think the film
yep,
answered that at all.
yep, yep. Well, for
But I
me,
mean,
it's still
I think the reason she killed herself was because I don't know, like she had committed two murders. Perhaps her conscience had caught up with her.
yep,
But also, I think she probably just wanted some control over like how her life was going to end because he was in
hmm
pursuit of her, like as a murderer. He wasn't just
yep,
in love with her; he was also trying to like lock her up,
yep.
and she
Well,
didn't want that to happen.
yep. All right, it's a good film for me.
Yeah, I
Uh,
agree.
all right, top two now, and my number one is still not in on your list, still
Mm.
not of as you mentioned. So
Wow.
I would reckon maybe we got the same number one. Let's find
Well, I
out.
mean, the odds are way, way bigger that we don't, right? Because if there's only two potential films that it could be versus hundreds of others that I haven't seen.
Yeah. To great film, like a single great film, that's maybe the case.
Right.
Let's
Okay,
see.
well, I do think that I have two great films at the top of the list, but we'll find out. I'll starting with my number two, which is Close.
Mhm.
I watched this film just today, so I watched Close and Broker
Oh
back to
wow.
back before we started recording. So I was just crying all the time over the
God
past 5 hours
damn.
or so.
Yep.
Um, close. It's just an incredibly sad movie. um, because you're dealing with the death of a child, you're dealing with the guilt of a child having participated in the events that led up to that suicide. Um, you're you're dealing with the feelings of shame experienced by two kids who were just starting to discover their sexuality
Mhm.
before that it was interrupted. One of them couldn't take. They were in too much pain and they couldn't take it anymore. So they ended their own life. That's you could make any sort of film about that subject matter and it would probably come out pretty. It would be effective, you know. But I feel like this film, how tightly it focuses, how closely it focuses on Leo, is what puts it over the top. Like
Mhm.
whenever you see him at hockey practice or playing soccer during recess at school, the camera is so focused on him, you don't even really get the context of whatever athletic, um, whatever's happening around him, the game
Yep.
or the sport.
Yep.
It's always focused on Leo.
Yep.
So you get a really good sense for his character because of that philosophy that the film holds, which is that Leo himself is more important than what's happening around him, and it's also effective at isolating him because though the film doesn't explicitly confirm it, you have a reason to suspect that he may be gay, and so as a result he's isolated from his peers, the majority of whom you can assume are probably straight, and who mock him or perhaps ask him questions that make him uncomfortable. As in an early scene when he's in middle school, I guess. Maybe it's high school, his first year of it. I'm not sure exactly what age the kids were.
I think they are like 13, 14, so it's definitely middle school.
Yeah. A lot of the other kids seem to be older than Leo and Remy, who are the two central characters. Like the child actors seem to be older than them, which was kind of distracting to me at some points. But obviously, it's very well made, very strong film. So it's you can't take too many points off or something like that. Uh, yeah, it's just. I mean, I'm not sure what else I
All
can
right.
say about it. One detail that I really did love about it was that when Leo returns to Remy's home the
Mhm.
last time, the room has
Mhm.
been painted yellow rather than red
Yeah.
because yellow has an echo in it of the story that he tells Remy when they're lying in bed together about the imagine that you're a duckling and
Right.
you're the most beautiful and most special duckling with your yellow fur.
Mhm.
So it's gone. His room has gone from red, which is a pretty violent color that perhaps foreshadows the Remy's death,
Mhm.
and has become a color that, in terms of the film's coding, its color coding, I think is meant to be a lot more mellow and more beautiful. So something beautiful has emerged from this terrible tragedy, which I think is a great way to cap it off. Yeah, I
Yep.
mean, if most people I think who would even be interested in listening to a podcast like this have probably seen this film already. So if that's you and you're listening, you already know why this film is great. You really don't need me to explain it. But yes,
All
I
right.
was a big puddle of tears while I was watching.
I can
And
tell you what I feel about clothes because I have a quite complex relationship with clothes as well. So when I first watched it at Cannes, we didn't know about what the plot entails.
hmm,
I think the director purposely, like didn't really hint or signal anything about like the coming events, so that not to spoil the effect of the movies. And I feel that the film really respect the characters. Um, it focus much on Leo's and his reaction, or even like his muted feeling about the death of his best friend Remy. So it's by like absolute respect for the characters, but watching the film the second times, I feel that some of the story bit is a bit, forced, like the way that you know uh when Leo go to see Remy mums at the end, and then she kind of like disappointed and ask him to walk out of the car.
Yeah.
Remember that scene? And then he tried to run away, and he tried to uh he 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 tried to hit her. You remember that? I just feel that that
Well, the
scene,
stick.
wow, that's with a stake,
I
was
mean, he
very
picked up the
emotionally.
stick, but he didn't. He didn't
he
try to hit
he
her
tried
with
to
it.
defend himself. Yeah, yeah, that's right. But yeah, it very emotional, but it incredibly forced as well for me to have that scene. So the second viewing for me, the emotion wants up a little bit because of this scene like that. But overall, it's still a really strong film that that really yeah, respect the characters.
Hmm. All right. Well, I guess that's not going to be one that we share in the top two here.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay.
All
How
right.
about your
So
number two?
yeah, my number two is also a film that you mentioned before, Aftersun.
Okay.
I just feel that the plot itself is a bit like Alcarràs. It's all about like the memory of the last time that she spent together with her father in Turkey when she was like too young to understand about his depression. And now she's looking back from the other point of view where she's, like now around the same age as his father's back then, and about the so like happy memories she had of him. So I think you can tell by watching this movie that it is like semi autobiographical, and it is I think the director just released a pictures of them spending time together in I think in Greece or Turkey around the same time as well. So it obviously based on her real experience
Wow.
here.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So it is a film of happy memories depicted with melancholia. So she didn't understand what happened then, but she understands it now, and it puts his internal tumor on the center stage without calling much attention to it. So it's a film that filled with many little moments, and I think the one thing that I love most about this film is the restraint. How like everything just a mere suggestion, how it just doesn't go for any big moments, but we eventually pick up on that. And
Doesn't
even
go for
like
any big moments.
it doesn't really, like it doesn't have like any shouting matches. He did
It does have a
he did
dream where he walks into the ocean to kill himself.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
true.
a pretty big
And
moment.
mm, and yeah, he did stand her up as well. I think like in his birthday party, in his old birthday. But yeah,
Are you talking about the
I
karaoke scene? What do you
yeah,
mean he stood her up?
and afterwards, because I think he left early.
No,
And
he went back to the hotel. She said, "I'm not going up with you. I'm going to stay down here." And she
right,
hangs out with the
and
older kids at the bar, and then she goes to a pool where she kisses the guy who she played uh,
yeah,
the
and for some
motorcycle game
reason,
with.
when she get back to the hotel, he is gone. So she had to stay out the whole night, right?
No, he's passed out
Oh, all
naked in
right.
the room.
Okay.
Do you remember that? She
Yeah.
comes back and he's naked, so she puts the cover over him.
All right.
He doesn't actually
Huh.
leave the hotel room. When you see him leave and walk to the ocean and walk in, that's a dream.
Yep. Yep. Oh boy. And like all the event is not dramatic at all. So
He walks into
no
the
no
ocean and kills
I
himself in a
I
dream.
in the dream. So I mean like for her at least they have a really happy time there. But all we feel now is sadness. Like at the end of the films, all I feel is just sad.
Yeah. Oh,
That
it's certainly sad. Yeah.
Yeah, and yeah, and it is something that like the feeling of sadness and the uh yeah, the memory of that happy time, and now like and how all the characters ended up now, like really stick with me until now. So
Yeah.
emotionally, I feel like Aftersun is like the film that I gonna remember the most.
Hmm. Even more than whatever your number
Right.
one is.
Let's talk about number one when we get there. I just wonder if we have the same number one. So let's see.
Okay. All right. Well, we've
Right.
come all the way from Layla's Brothers at 10 and, along
All
with
right.
Apollo 10 and a
But
half to the number
so
one
2 hour
pick.
after 2 hour and a half, we
Right.
now get into our number one pick.
Right. So for me, that pick is Tar.
All right.
This
Yep.
is my favorite of the year. Everything, most of the films that came before it were like Close, The Quiet Girl, Broker, Aftersun, all tearjerkers. I don't know. I mean, maybe you can't describe all of them that way, but certainly they're all very emotional movies.
Hmm.
This one, not so much. This film, just del- this film delighted me, I would say.
Hmm.
I was enthralled by the main performance, Kate Blanchett as Lydia Tarr. I was tricked, like many people were, into thinking that this was a real person who was being portrayed, like this was some sort of loose biopic.
You
Um,
been tricked
yeah,
by whom?
by the marketing team for the film, who like created a
Right.
Wikipedia page for the person Lydia Tarr, even though she was fictional, and
Right. Right.
by like the news articles that were posted on websites about Lydia Tarr as though she were a
Yep.
real person. Like there was a bunch of weird stealth marketing,
Yep.
the evidence of which is still online. I mean, her Wikipedia page has been taken down, but there's other stuff out there.
Right.
And then, of course, people wrote think pieces about it, like, "Wait a minute, this isn't a real person." But I mean, that's all extraneous, kind of. That's not part of the film. The way that her mental breakdown is depicted is really like the rhythm of it. The fact that the film continually returns to that shot of her lying on her side in the dark and hearing a sound and having
Mhm.
to like hunt through her super expensive apartment or house, whatever it is, in order to find the sound. The way that that represents, I think, her guilt from
Mental
the.
illness.
I don't think that she's mentally ill. I think that that's
Mm-hmm.
more a representation of her guilt at the way that she's treated people. That's like catching up with
Mm-hmm.
her
Mm-hmm.
as she starts to be caught up with in more literal terms by,
Mm-hmm.
the media and by the suicide of the girl who she kind of like blacklisted from the music world by sending all those emails about how she was
Mm-hmm.
unstable and such.
Yep.
The like watching her spiral, and the film made time to be dramatic and ironic and funny and suspenseful and violent.
Funny.
Oh, absolutely! I thought this film was very funny. Do you remember the scene? Have you seen this
Where
movie?
she fall down? Where she fall down
No, I'm
and
not talking about that. You've
all
seen the
right, which one?
film, right?
Yeah, yeah, I did.
Okay. So do you remember the scene where she has to go into her neighbor's apartment to help pick
Yep,
up her mother who has fallen?
yep. And then she returned. She have to change to change a new pair of clothes and wash her hand and all that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So eventually that woman dies, the mother dies, and her child, her daughter, I guess, and her son-in-law come to her apartment and say, "Can you tell us when exactly you're going to play music? Because
Yeah.
we don't want to
Yeah. Yeah.
scare off the people who are viewing this apartment."
Yeah.
And
And then
immediate
she
cut
play that.
to her with the accordion singing that "Apartment for Sale" song. The funniest moment of any films that I watched
Yeah.
uh, for it from this whole year. That was comedy gold.
She incredible.
Yeah,
Her
she even
characters, her
laughs a little
talent.
bit
Yeah.
as she's singing. She goes "Apartment for Sale," so you can hear her laugh, and it just contributes to Lydia's like her spiral and the fact that her life is falling apart.
Yeah.
Even that the little laugh that Blanchett gives there.
Mhm.
So I just thought this film was like really meticulously crafted. Lots of little scenes where there are symbols written in red and blue pencil, the like the
Mhm.
dual sided pencils that I suppose are used in some sort of musical notation,
Mhm.
and like her trying to crack a code. Um, I can't remember what it was exactly. I took lots of screen caps, but I ended up deleting them. There was
Yeah.
a code that she was trying to crack. Like there was a cryptic message that she thought, I don't know if it was real or not, but she thought that there was some cryptic message in,
Oh.
oh,
Oh.
the
Yeah. Yeah.
book,
Yeah.
right? That she found on the airplane or that she looked at on the airplane.
All right. The book someone sent to her, and she thought that was from the suicide.
The girl who had killed
Uh,
herself? Really?
yeah, the girl who killed herself. So that she threw it away and she tried to decode her name. Uh, yeah, with some other meaning, but I
Yeah.
think it just yeah, it's
Yes.
just paranoia.
Yeah, I agree. And
Yep,
then when she went to her assistant, after her assistant had quit, she went to her
yep,
assistant's house
yep,
and
yep.
she found rat
Tao
on
Tao.
rat,
Yep,
uh, which
yep,
I suppose her assistant had done,
yep,
which kind of legitimizes the all the searching for codes that Lydia was doing. But at the
yep.
same time, you call into question like whether her assistant even wrote that or whether she's even, like imagining it. There's just a lot of there's some
Hmm.
ambiguity to whether she's hearing sounds at all or whether
Yep, yep,
these like for
yep.
example what happens to her scorebook for Mahler's Fifth Symphony in her
Hmm.
house because it goes missing. She probably thinks it's been stolen, but maybe she's just misplaced it.
Yep.
And also, actually, Mahler's Fifth Symphony is referenced in Decision to Leave
Oh wow, right. I didn't
because
make that connection.
the husband, the first husband who So-Ray kills,
Hmm.
the YouTube video that's like a tutorial for climbing this mountain that he leaves behind says
Yep.
that he listens to Mahler's Fifth Symphony as he climbs,
Hmm.
and it even plays the song. So that appears in both of those films.
Hmm.
Anyway, yeah, this the dialogue in this film. So the New Yorker interview in the
Hmm.
first scene was like completely over my head. I was like, what is going on? What does any of this mean? Eventually the film kind of returns to earth and becomes a little bit
Um.
more
All right.
decipherable.
I think he played himself in that one, so he the main New
Yeah, the guy
Yorker
conducting the
commentary.
interview is playing himself.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep, yep. All
Um,
right, go on.
but the just by and large the fact that it combines all this highbrow classical music talk with the sort of language that anybody can understand,
Hmm.
and that the balance of it starts getting tilted more and more towards ordinary language the longer the film goes on, which kind of represents the elitism and the her belonging to the classical music world kind of being eroded away
Hmm.
as she loses her grip on the power that she's exercised for so many years is a really smart like script decision.
Mm.
This the language that the film uses in general is modified as it goes along to reflect like Lydia's new reality. Um, yeah, I and plus the ending fantastic. The fact that she has been reduced to conducting part
The
like
game score.
yeah, well it's yeah, a video game score, specifically Monster Hunter, which
All
I
right.
assume was chosen because of the monologue, like the narration that plays as part of the song,
Yeah.
which is, "If any of you have lost your nerve, then step away now and let no one judge you." So those are the final
Mm.
words spoken in the film because they're a part of that song in Monster Hunter, and it's left up to you how to interpret that. That can either like step away now and let no one judge you. That could either be directed at the new generation, who can't tolerate all the abuses of power that older people have committed for so long, and they want like a new world order. Or it could be directed at the older generation, who kind of fear the changing times. They may need to be the ones who step away
Mm.
and not be judged for it. You know
Yep.
the fact that it chose that particular song and had people cosplay as Monster Hunter characters just so that it could fit in that last message is just very amusing to me. I was always amused and interested in what this film was going to do next.
Mm.
So it's my favorite.
Yeah. And you haven't mentioned that the very last scene I think is pulled out to see the audience who like in that's weird customs.
Yeah, they're cosplaying
Uh
as Monster Hunter characters.
yeah, amazing. All right. So I just mentioned that my number two is the film that I kind of related the most. Like I respond to it most emotionally. My number one is the one that I feel the most complete, and that film is Tar. Yep. Even like two movie, we have the same, we have the same pick for the top one.
Yep.
So Wooper had done a very good job, describing what is great about Tar. So I just, everything he said was right.
Well,
Uh,
I don't know about that.
I just feel that I just want to add that I just feel that it's the only film where every single scene, like add up towards the same goal for me. It just, like everything is just constructed to, like, to for us to have a view about the view or counter view about Ta as a person and as the, like the talent behind, and how, like these two can overlap, or or just, like just just to show the person behind all the success, and how an ego can grow too big that it can turn into manipulation. And I think Cat Blanchett again deliver like one of the best performance that I've seen in a while. I don't know how she lost the Oscar.
Oh,
uh
did she not win?
you know who won?
No.
Michelle Yeoh.
Oh, right. Everything
Right.
Everywhere getting all the awards, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
So yeah, she take all the credit, but I want to give the credit to the director as well, who, like he came out after 16 years to write about this script and to direct this film, and like it's just pitch perfect, just like how Ta does. So
I guess he
hats off
had
to
something to
him.
say about this subject.
It is,
Like
yes, and
what we should do with all the monsters who have produced
yeah,
like
that's right,
globe
and
defining art.
and something about the cancel culture as well, like the fate she eventually goes after, like after all the event going out, so she just, like she sit down at the bottom. She
Right.
had to, so yeah, she had to be conducting a score for a popular game, which I'm pretty sure that before that she have even never considered that.
Well, yeah, probably not.
Yeah.
Although the film does make a point of bringing up that she has won the EGOT. So
Yep.
Emmy, Grammy, Oscar, Tony. So she's worked in.
Yep.
I would say that the quote unquote lowest of those four is television. So she's composed for TV.
Yep.
Obviously, video
Yep.
games would, in most composers' minds, be a step down even from that.
Yep.
But
Yep.
it proves that she's not such a complete snob that she won't do
Yep.
TV. So
Yep.
I guess a Monster
And
Hunter, tribute in the Philippines. I think they were in the Philippines at the end. Was
Philippines. Yep.
was all that was available to her, or what?
Yeah.
But I mean, you
We
can
never know.
even the ending is so strange that you can interpret it however you want.
That's right.
You could even think to yourself, she loves conducting so much and is
Yep.
doing it for the passion she has for music.
Yep.
Which would be reinforced by her watching the old Leonard Bernstein tapes at her childhood home
Yep.
towards the end, and her like kind of mouthing along to the words when he's talking about it's all about how the music makes you feel. So when
Yep.
she is shown doing this apparently ridiculous thing at the end, it may be because she just loves conducting so much that she will go wherever she can, and not shamefully,
Yep.
but
Yep.
she'll go wherever the opportunity is to do the thing she loves.
And yep. And I love that ending so much for that because it just opened up to like to each person. Uh,
Interpretation.
it Yeah, that's right. So we can make out anything that we like, and it's not a clean ending at all.
Right.
But for me, it just like the perfect note to end.
Yeah. It
So
is it is
bravo.
everything, It's not just an emotional ending or it's not just a logical ending. It's
Yep,
kind of whimsical
yep,
and
yep,
weird and somehow even a little bit inspiring.
yep.
It's just a lot of
And
things that you don't typically expect a film to target or to have in its
that's right.
sights as it moves towards its conclusion.
And somehow it fit. So
Yeah.
God damn it, yeah.
Yeah, it
And
also generates a lot of discussion and buzz probably. So there's that too.
yep. And yeah, and the most funny moment for me is the one that she kicked the conductor, the replacement conductor, so that she can conduct the
Does
piece.
she?
I think
I
that
remember her storming out and like shoving him. Does she kicks him too?
yeah, yeah, so that she can conduct in the piece. This
Right.
piece is mine.
Yeah.
Oh
Yeah.
God,
That was
she
nuts.
priceless.
Yeah,
Yep,
because the way that scene is directed, you don't know. You
yep,
think to yourself, okay, she's
yep,
walking out because she's about to conduct. You don't know that
yep,
he's taken her place yet. And
yep.
of course, it makes sense
And
in retrospect because she's like losing her mind,
I,
and
I,
people hate
yeah, I
her.
would I would say that one of the power that the show have toward the end is that it doesn't right out tell you everything, so that like into the middle of a scene you have to guess, or you have to catch up with like what they imply. So we don't know that she have been kicked out.
Right.
We don't know where she goes for the last piece, and we don't know why she doing there until the very end.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. It is.
It
I do like how. I mean, a lot of that is probably a function of how quickly the end of the film moves.
Yep.
It doesn't get bogged down
Yep.
in the details, and
Yep.
you have to figure it out for yourself a little bit.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
think a
Yep.
lot
Yep.
of people have been critical of how fast the end of this film is, and
Yep.
I think perhaps the reason that people want it to be more detailed and more drawn out is because they want Lydia having
Having second thought about.
having done what she did,
Yep. Yep.
having
Yep. Yep.
contributed to the suicide of a promising young conductor and having
Yep. 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 Yep.
manipulated events so that she's been able to have like romantic or sexual relationships with other young women which we
Yep,
don't
yep,
see
yep,
but is implied. I think we're supposed to believe actually happened.
yep.
I think that learning that about her character, I think a lot of people in the audience might want her her spiral to be slower and more detailed so you can watch her unravel and suffer.
Hmm.
But the film doesn't, it resists the urge to give that to you.
Yep.
And instead makes it more about her and how she actually suffers. Not to say that she's a good person or should be absolved or forgiven for anything that she did, but the film is chiefly interested in her character, not
Hmm.
what the world thinks about her.
Yep.
And I think that's an interesting angle.
Yep.
You know,
Totally agree with you on that.
I think that's what it makes the ending memorable and will keep it in people's minds and in conversation for a while. If we just
Hmm.
saw her, we saw endless scenes of her like accessing social media and seeing stuff, or endless phone calls from people saying they're canceling her book tour or whatever. That's not, is there anything really cinematic to be done
Hmm.
by filming those scenes? However you do it. I mean, I guess Todd Field would answer this. This film is his answer to that question.
Yep. And from what I heard, Todd Field said that he gonna retire from filmmaking after this movie. So let's hope that's not true.
Well, he wasn't it 16 years between his previous film and this one,
Yep.
something like
So
that.
he only made three movies so far. Two of them nominated for best picture, and the other one was really also acclaimed as well.
Hmm.
So yep, he's just a gem.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Yeah. Well, I enjoyed this. I enjoyed all these movies.
yeah.
In
And there you have it, guys. Our top 10.
Yeah. I mean, I watched Alcarràs, which I liked. I watched
Yeah,
Everywhere All at Once, which I liked. Tori and Lokita, which I liked. So these were all movies that you listed
yeah,
that I've seen and enjoyed. So
yeah.
yeah, good picks all
Didn't really,
around.
yeah,
I'm
didn't
just
really expect that we have the same top one, the same
no,
top spot.
I didn't think we would at all, but
Yeah,
it worked out.
yeah, true.
I mean, there was a chance, I guess. I mean, to me, this is just me, but to me, it's clearly the best movie of the year. So the
Mhm.
little part of you that thinks to yourself, "Oh, well, I mean, this is if my judgment is that this is the best movie, then it's obviously the best movie. So this other guy better pick it as well." Um, yeah, that part of my brain thought that maybe it would happen, but
Yep, yep.
mostly I'm surprised.
Cool, cool. We have the good list all around, so you know.
Yeah, I mean, I can't really be the guy who says whether it was a good year for movies or not. Like, I can't wrap this up by saying, "Oh, good, great year for movies." I have no frame of reference. I've watched 45 films from this year, and that is by far the most films I have ever watched from a calendar
Yep.
year in my life. So, was it good or bad? I don't know. But
So, but maybe if we do the same one next year, you will have a point of reference.
yeah, a single point, just one dot.
That's
Yeah.
right. So still
But we could do that again for next year. I'd be interested in that, as long as we can keep it
right.
to under 2 hours and 53 minutes, which is what we're at right now.
All right. So let's get it right now. So thank you guys for listening. And if you make all the way through 3 hours
Yeah,
almost
thanks.
of our podcast, and hopefully we recommend you some films that you might have missed. And if you haven't checked out Tar, for example, go for it. Go and watch it right away. It's a
Yeah,
great experience.
it's the best film of the year. We've proven it.
Yeah.
I think we're going to be back in just 2 weeks
Right.
with another theme episode, which we typically do here. Don't know what the theme will be yet, but we'll get it figured out, and we will see you